Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I'm Julian Misha. I'm joined by Rachel Wilkinson.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about... Oh, you really are too far over to that side. We'll move you over. We're going to be talking about...
Always.
Andor Season 2, Episodes 7 through 9. And that reference, by the way, for her moving over is because we record this live.
Yeah.
And recording this live on Twitch and YouTube right now. It is Thursday night around 8 o'clock Central. Our schedule has not been consistent. I promised a consistent schedule, but the NHL playoffs have made other plans. To be fair, we were 1.6 seconds away from this not being an issue last week.
That is true. That is true.
So if you're following the NHL playoffs, the Jets were about to be eliminated up until 1.6 seconds before they tied the game, sent it to overtime, and then won in double OT. So here they are now in the second round, just long enough to interfere with every single week. I think next week we're fine, though, for the finale.
That's good.
What that means for Rogue One, which we'll be doing following Andor Season 2, and Tales of the Underworld, which will follow that, is yet to be seen. But stay tuned to our Blue Sky, Tower of Babel podcast on Blue Sky for updates on when that's going to happen. Also, Patreon, patreon.com/TowerBabblecast. There you get access to our exclusive Discord where we keep most people updated more consistently, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Friends of the show, supporters of the show have direct access to us, and it's been really fun.
Yeah. It's nice being
I was called out for being a little bit of a bigot last week.
Were you?
Yeah, but in a fun, playful way. They were totally fine. I'm not going to reveal who they are because that for reasons, but they were like mustached gay man, and is like and Italian. I was like, oh man, I made fun of every single one of those people last week. Remember we thought that what's his name was gay. Turns out that was wrong.
Who?
The ISB informant. The little ginger kid.
I said he wasn't because he had a wife and a kid.
Right, yeah. So that was right.
You were wrong.
I said, yeah. By we, I mean me.
Yeah.
I just
you
want you
said
to be
because he had a
this.
mustache that he was a gay man.
Yeah. But it turns out I was entirely wrong because a real gay man said he had a mustache. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. The Patreon is exclusive to our the Discord is exclusive to our Patreon members. And for as little as $5 a month, you do get access to bonus content. We do a monthly film club on there. And it's a lot of fun. So Tower of Babel podcast. You search for that on Patreon or patreon.com/TowerBabblecast. You'll find everything you're looking for. I might sound like I'm rushing, but that's only because I want to get to these episodes. Yeah. They're so exciting. I don't know if this is the most time I've spent making notes because
there's no
I think the record was 12 pages,
something insane.
This is 11 of pages on Google Docs, but
I feel like you've had 20 pages before, but
it's possible. Maybe when we were doing two shows out in one episode.
Oh, maybe when
we did Bad Batch and Andor season 1, those were crazy, but a fun thing to pair against each other. A good double bill.
Yeah,
and I still think that's true. That Bad Batch and Andor make for a great double bill. Anyway, so again, we're going to be talking about episodes 7 through 9. This is the penultimate 3-episode arc before. Can you believe that next week it's already over?
I know, right? It's I do. I like the 3-episode arcs because we get kind of the big whole movie kind of feel.
Yeah, we get a movie every week.
At the same time, though, it feels a little too quick. I kind of like the drawn out things, but I don't know. I do love this though. It's good for binge watchers like me. So,
well, I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of everything for everyone because I personally love a week-to-week model. Mm-hmm. We talked about this on the very first episode for season 2, but that Tony Gilroy, writer, showrunner, was like, we feel bad for the podcasters, etc. I mean, that's not I do appreciate that sentiment, and it has been hard to cover 3 episodes, and we can't go into as deep dives as we'd like to. We can't go scene by scene, which is what we typically like to do.
No, it'd be a 4-hour podcast.
It would take way too long. We're already
4 or
pushing
5
2.5.
hours. Yeah.
We're pushing 2.5 hours weekly. It's long. We're basically, I mean, this is a rare situation where our podcast is less time than the actual show itself, which is usually like we do a half-hour episode of TV, we cover it for an hour.
For an hour, yeah.
Yeah. So, if anything, we're making record time.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was saying is like the week-to-week model is still my preferred method.
Yeah.
The unfortunate truth here is that the weekly movie model, which is 3 episodes a week, is still a lot. But it's certainly gripping as a viewer. Like you just like get absorbed into it, and like by the middle of it, you're like you don't know where the beginning, middle, or end is, and it's great.
It makes me stay up way later than I normally would, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth because the thing is, it doesn't drop on Disney Plus until 8 p.m. on Tuesday.
Our time, yeah.
Yeah, so Central. So that's like if you got 3 hours, basically, you're not getting to bed until like 11.
Yeah,
at the earliest, if you're not taking breaks in between or making popcorn like I always do.
Yeah.
I only make one bowl for a 3 hour, which is like I feel like I'm restraining
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of preamble, I do want to talk about the fact that May the 4th did happen. Tales of the Underworld did drop on both on Disney Plus and in Fortnite. But we're going to save our deep dive for that coming up. Did you watch it?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to give some quick thoughts on this just to kind of get it out of the way.
Okay.
So I watched it all in one sitting, which was easy compared to Andor.
Well, yeah.
And I there's 2 different 3-episode arcs, again, similar to Andor. There one following Asajj Ventress and the other one following Cad Bane. I do think the Asajj stuff was 1,000 times more interesting.
Yeah.
And I also think that calling it Tales of the Underworld feels like a bit of like seems like not correct.
It didn't
titling.
Seem very underworldy to
There's
me.
There's like no underworlding.
I was thinking like there's gonna be way more like crime boss and like
none of that.
Yeah.
This is more like Tales of the Star Wars Western is what they should have called it.
Yeah. I get it. It would be hard to what to call this.
Doesn't have the same vibe. Yeah.
And you could have more Tales of the Underworld.
Yeah, but like you could have more Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, Tales of all those things. But this one just feels like a misnomer, which is like, hey, you don't get excited for any like references to, crime boss Darth Maul or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's coming in the next show. But yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Like I said, we'll be doing a full recap following our coverage of Rogue One, which we'll be doing following Andor. And I did find it cool to see like the construction of the Imperial class Star Destroyer in I think the first arc. That was fun.
Yeah.
And I like their commitment to like all the no-name characters that we'll never see again in the Cad Bane arc. But ultimately, like that is a character I think of all characters we don't need an origin story for. But now we have it.
Yeah.
So
it is kind of cool to get, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
We'll deep dive it.
Yeah,
more when we get to it.
And honestly, I didn't feel like I'd see a large jump in like visual fidelity for the animation in these 3, which we have seen basically every year with all these new Tales of things. This one really felt like perfectly in line with everything else we've seen, which is fair. But I think they're saving the really nice stuff for the mall show that's coming.
Probably.
Okay. Before we get into the recap, I'll quickly mention some of the things we missed over the last weeks. I didn't mention the creatives who did the last arc. So director Ariel Kleiman was back for that, but it was written by Beau Willimon, who you might recognize from The Ides of March, House of Cards, Mary Queen of Scots. Great like suspense writer. And like Willimon seems like they named Wilmon after him, which is not something like that's something they do. Where they're like, we'll just name these characters after someone who works
like
on
last names or whatever. Do a mix or
or we'll name a planet after somebody or whatever. That happens too sometimes.
Yeah,
so
that's fun.
Anyway, we also didn't mention that because I didn't know this at the time that the European actors that they got to play the Ghormans were so good at the fake French language that they made that they were able to improvise it.
That's awesome.
Isn't that insane?
I love that. That's such dedication to your craft. And like, you're just pumped to be in a Star Wars film where you take the time to learn a fake language enough that you can just improvise your own
How much
lines
time do you
in
think
it.
they're given to learn a fake language?
I don't know. I mean, for this, probably quite a bit because they knew
everything took forever.
Yeah, because it took so long, right? So they probably had a whole extra year, I think.
Yeah, it's a good point. So they probably
yeah.
were like getting to hanging out together during COVID.
Yeah, right. We're like, well, it's COVID. May as well learn this fake language they made up. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, though. I bet they can also talk to each other in it now.
Yeah, which is like one of those things where it's like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
No one could ever learn that. I mean, that is cool.
It's like learning Klingon.
It is like learning Klingon or
Yeah.
Elvish.
Elvish, yeah.
Yeah.
Dothraki. People learn that
Or
one.
Dothraki. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Those are all real, quote unquote, fake languages. This one I don't think has like a dictionary or anything, although maybe they'll release one.
Yeah, you never know.
And then we also have never talked about this, but it's been the beginning of every episode, which is the sound of the hammer and like anvil from Ferrix.
Yes.
That starts every single 3-episode arc before they cut to the BBY year. That's a cool like throwback to the original, tie back to the original part of the story. This all started on Ferrix. We get a little bit more Ferrixiness in this 3-episode section, which is fun. And then I feel like we didn't give enough, because it was right at like close to the end of our conversation, which is not enough on Saw's speech, which got a lot of attention online. And we talked a little bit about some of the connections, but essentially Saw is a maniac.
Yeah.
But he has so much charisma.
He does.
That he's able to still draw people in.
Because he's basically a cult leader. That's the whole vibe of a cult leader, is they're super charismatic, but they're crazy, but they can really draw people in with like charisma and they're talking.
Also his fear. I think people are afraid of him.
Yeah, he's terrifying because he will just shoot you in the face if he doesn't, because he's so paranoid too, right?
He's like a good guy Vader. That's the look they're going for.
Yeah.
People were wondering if the like gas mask he has in Rogue One is him huffing gas, and I don't think it is. I think that's a result of having huffed
That'd
gas.
be hilarious if he's just like
high all the time.
Just he gets to the point where he just needs a main line to his nose.
Hook it to my veins.
Wild.
Yeah, and like just like his belief that, or the sense of freedom he has in knowing his purpose in life.
Yeah.
Is so like intoxicating that it like is able to convince Willimon to like breathe in deadly gas. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, in terms of all of this, when they kind of say like your rebel is my terrorist, like Saw is a terrorist. He's
but it's like it's all like relative,
I
suppose,
because it's like, but I just feel like because he goes too far, and that's kind of where the line is, where it's like he's a little more loosey goosey about losing his own people or Crossfire.
What do they say? All's fair in love and war.
Yeah, he's a little more,
cutthroat.
Yeah,
but I mean his.
But I mean, so is Lutheran.
But that's his right, exactly. But his whole belief, Saw's belief, is that. He says, I'm the only one with clarity of purpose. He's the only one who he believes that he's the only one who truly understands that to fight evil, you have to also be evil.
Yeah.
Which is like a crazy thing to say, but
you have to be willing to
fight fire with fire.
Yeah, you have to be willing to like play their game, right? So yeah.
And which is a great example of what we see later today, or what we'll talk about later today with the Ghorman massacre, because the Gores are like, well, what can we still do peaceful protest? And they're like, probably not.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Just the whole thing is interesting. I love how he sees himself as the gas itself, both himself and his sister, right? As this explosive, corrosive agent that can be set off at any time and cause massive damage.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a great. It's like an all-time. It's probably will go down as probably the number one or number two speech from this season.
From the oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't like. I think it's better than Mon Mothma's speech.
It is, yeah. But
that's
I mean,
only because hers is like a little bit downplayed.
She can't say fully what she wants to say, obviously, when she's in the middle of the Senate. But she does say a lot for being in the middle of the Senate. But yeah.
Yes. But it just doesn't have that same. And it's also obviously you have like this amazing performance that is like really truly unhinged and nothing like you'll ever see. It's crazy. It's a scene that you'd have to like watch over and over again. There's so many layers to it. But we have so much to cover that we'll have to come back to it in the future and reference it again. Okay, so we're covering season 2, episodes 7 through 9. Episode 7 is titled Messenger. The logline is Yavin is growing. Wilmon comes for help. Dedra's on Ghorman. Cassian heeds the call. Mm-hmm. Okay. Season 2, episode 8, Who Are You? Imperial manipulation, Ghorman frustration, Cassian and Cyril center stage as Palmo erupts. This is the big episode. Mm-hmm. This arc, maybe the episode of the series.
Definitely the most tense so far.
And then Welcome to the Rebellion, season 2, episode 9. In the Ghorman aftermath, Mon Mothma takes a stand. Cassian must carry out a difficult extraction. Mm-hmm. These were directed by Janice Metz, who's a young and up-and-coming director, has directed an episode of True Detective in season 2, which is the worst of the True Detective seasons, but that's okay. All the Old Knives, and won a grand prize at the Cannes Film Festival for a documentary called Armadillo.
Okay.
And that film depicts a group of Danish soldiers deployed to the front line in Afghanistan and immerses itself in the tedium of war, combat of the Taliban, and hidden atrocities and maddening tragedy. So he brings kind of that skill set to this stuff. This is written by Tony Gilroy and his brother Dan Gilroy, who is a frequent collaborator and also did much of the writing for the Eldani heist in season 1. So like a really solid creative team here that I think absolutely nails it. So I have a lot of overall thoughts to get into here, but I will say this before we get into it, which is that I have been saying both on Blue Sky, so the socials, but also anyone who will listen to me, that this I think is the best Star Wars we maybe have ever seen. And like, I think that's it's very hyperbolic concept, but I'm really feeling like that's becoming proven to be more and more true every week we go by. Yeah. And so I feel like this question has started to like reach a higher level of reach in the online spaces, because I've seen it now being posed, and also a question, is it the best we've ever seen? But also people stating it as it is the best we've ever seen all over the internet.
Right.
And I'm backed up by a few things that are a little bit more independent, which is that episode 8 is in the top 10 of all-time highest-rated episodes of television on IMDb. Not just Star Wars, all-time television is in the top 10 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes has these 3 episodes ranked as the most critically acclaimed live-action content in Star Wars ever.
Wow.
Including all movies. And Paired Analytics Streaming Economics System, which is a mouthful, calculates that from when it premiered in September 2022 through the end of 2024, the show has brought in over $300 million in streaming subscribers revenue for Disney Plus globally, outpacing other live-action Star Wars series like The Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka. Obviously, not mentioned here is Mandalorian, which probably does outperform it.
Yeah,
in almost every way.
Yeah.
That being said, that's still a lot of money. The show is very expensive. In this calculation, it hasn't paid for itself necessarily. But given its massive critical acclaim, I think it's just a gift that'll keep on giving over and over and over again for a long time. So where do you fall? Is this the best Star Wars we've ever had?
It's so hard because like you said, it's just relative to so many different things. But in terms of like all the most recent like shows we've been getting, and I don't know. The writing
my water
is
went
so
down the
good.
wrong way.
Oh, you're choking and dying. I'll give you a minute.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm fine.
Sorry, podcast over. Julian Crow.
I'll try to cut that out after.
I just mean in terms of the writing, the acting, like the intensity, it's phenomenal. Like I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm getting goosebumps. Like I'm fully immersed when I'm watching the show. Right. So, and yeah, it seems like that sentiment is across the board too, which it's kind of rare. We don't see that as often with the Star Wars content.
You don't
these
hear
days.
as much of the complainers these days, although I will
Yeah,
say
but
they
there's
are
other
out
reasons for that.
there. It's because they're not watching.
Well, no, we've gotten into it in the past.
Because they are Nazis.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah.
like, woo, stories about me.
Like finally, I get to be depicted on screen.
That they hate the most aren't necessarily in
Oh, yeah, but there's
as
things
much.
like
we talked about this.
yeah, same sex.
Yeah, they don't care when the
stuff.
women are hot. It's
Oh right, yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
it's
God damn it, porn! You've ruined it for everyone.
yeah. But anyways, yeah, this definitely, absolutely is some of the best. Like, I don't think there's any arguing that it's not, right? Like, it's.
I think it all
obviously
depends
I
on
have
what you
nostalgia
want.
for some of like the movies. Like, I'm never really
Yeah.
gonna say that like a TV show is better than the original trilogy because that is Star Wars. Like, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't exist without the original trilogy,
No.
but it's such a great
But
like appendix.
visually, like it's
to
yeah,
that.
there's so many things like, and it can be just as like good or better in different ways, obviously. Right?
Yeah, I think it depends
So-
on what you're looking for. I
Yeah.
just think that this show has maybe the best. What's the word I'm looking for? Combination of production quality,
Yeah.
writing, performances, lore, everything that like if you're like a diehard Star Wars fan, I think you're looking for. And even just not no, let me rephrase that. If you're a fan of like high quality visual storytelling,
Yeah.
this is like checks all the boxes. This is like a prestige it is a prestige television show with a Star Wars wrapper around it.
Yeah.
But and I say that not to dismiss the Star Warsness of it. It's just to say that they used Star Wars as a setting and then made one of the best shows ever.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, it looks so good. It
Yeah.
sounds so good. It like everything about it. And then
Yeah.
again, not to shit on Obi-Wan, but just compare what this show looks like
Yeah,
to the Obi-Wan
yeah.
show, and it's like that show looks like it was made in someone's backyard.
Yeah. They're very much able to make us like give a shit about these new characters too.
Yeah,
And like
despite massive time jumps between
Yeah.
every it's
huge
crazy.
time jumps and it doesn't feel clunky is amazing. And
McClunky?
yeah, clunky.
Yeah, McClunky.
McClunky. Yeah. And yeah, it's so cool being able to like care about these characters even though some of them have plot armor, right? We know Cassian can't die.
Yeah, but it's like
But-
that almost adds the level. Like knowing who has plot armor adds a level
Yeah.
of like what else happens here.
Exactly.
to
and
the whole thing.
They're still able to make this like captivating story and make us care about good guys and bad guys too, right? Because there's not that
There's not a lot of bad guys that I
care.
care about
Not
necessarily,
care,
but it's
but
like
I'm invested.
witnessing-
Like I'm invested.
Yeah.
I like these characters. They're written very well. They're captivating.
They're
bad
interesting.
guys. Yeah, they're interesting. They're not
Yeah.
just like your cookie cutter Imperial either. Like they have different aspects to them, which is really
There
cool.
are some cookie cutter Imperials.
Of course, there always are,
Yeah.
but there's other depth to it now that you can see, and I like being able to see some depth in Imperial characters that aren't just like, oh, it's another space Nazi, right? So
Mhm.
it's fun getting to see that because you can even see we'll get into it obviously, but with Deidre specifically, the stuff that she's clocking
Oh man.
that's happening, she's kind of like, fuck, like, and you know, Cyril as well, like it's
Well, Cyril's in the dark until.
well,
like,
yeah, he's just a little messenger boy basically.
But yeah,
doing
the
their
thing with
bidding,
Cyril,
but-
I think we kind of not to say we nailed it, but like I think we were pretty close in what we were talking
Yeah.
about in terms of like
Is
where
he
his
gonna turn?
character gonna
Yeah.
end up. I mean,
Yeah.
we knew he was gonna die.
Yeah, I
when
was
we-
like, he's
yeah.
not gonna survive, but
But like in this, like to have him die here is
mhm.
interesting. So it's there's
Yeah.
a lot to unpack there. Let me just get into some of the stuff that I've been thinking about. So
Yeah.
I think that the show's ability, we talked about the time jump, to give just enough information to the viewer to catch us up on characters after 1 year
yeah,
is impressive because it's super efficient. And this was pointed out on the Screen Crush stuff, friend of the show, Ryan Airy, which is that it's true to the core of Star Wars, which is that like you're always kind of just like jumping into something that feels like it's already happening.
yeah, that is true, right?
Right.
It's like it literally opened. Star Wars opens as a whole of just being like, oh, you're jumping into like
right.
a
The
big
battle's
ass ship
over.
chasing a little one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Like Rogue One, the battle at Scarif could have been the opening of Episode 4, but they don't show us that. Instead, we catch up to the end of it, and
Yeah.
there's all this like
chaos.
references to things that we don't fully understand, but we kind of gives us enough context to like catch up.
Right? Yeah.
So, and I had heard on another podcast, because I listened to a lot of them, that one of the ways that Lucasfilm looks at Star Wars canon is that it's like a history book.
Okay.
So it's not that it's like imagine that it's already written, and we're just you're just finding those elements, and we're just presenting to you what happened, right? So these events have already happened, hence the long time ago, far, far away, and we're just showing them to you as they are, right?
Right.
And not really through a lens necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And I will argue that the world between worlds complicates things a bit because it kind of does have the potential to rewrite things.
Yeah.
But that's not really how they approach Star Wars, unlike maybe some of the comic book content and other stuff that has this desire to constantly rewrite canon.
Mm-hmm.
Canon in Star Wars is rewritten from a top-down methodology. So if it happened on screen, it gets priority. If it happened on a book or a comic book or in a video game, it might be erased.
Right. Yeah.
Or written over.
Mm-hmm.
and there's a little bit of that. We see a little bit of that in this week, even in reference to Rebels, which I guess the animation gets is one level lower than live action.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get into that. I will just say that I just think that's a really, like, when you look at Star Wars storytelling from that lens, it's like a really interesting way of like perceiving the Lucasfilm approach, which is to say that like there is a sense of like dread because there's always an end to these stories that we have a sense of already. That they're a tragedy almost, right? But at the end of the day, it makes the world feel alive and real. I think. Anything you want to mention about overall thoughts that we haven't said out so far? Because I'm just going to keep going.
I don't think so.
Otherwise.
No, keep going. You keep going.
Okay. So, the depiction of the Ghorman massacre. That's episode 8.
Yeah.
It's the one that everyone's talking about, and it is extremely haunting.
It is
technically impressive, considering the size of the. We talked about how big the set that they built.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't consider that was going to be used for that. I mean, I had a sense that was going to be how it was going to be done, but like their ability to create such a strong sense of place in that square/plaza, and then place all the people in it, and then just light the match and let it explode is like, I think, thrilling to watch.
It was even just like the little things for me of like the difference you can see between how that plaza looked in like that previous arc,
last arc,
and then a year and it's like dead.
Right.
It's not busy. People aren't having coffee and people aren't bustling around and people aren't chit-chatting, and it's just like it's very like takeover imperial, the way they like to do things.
That cafe would go out of business.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's like the hotel feels like stale and like everyone's frightened and tense. And
they have a good line like from one of the reporters in the show, right? Like an in-world line, which
I
is
like the reporter aspect too.
I felt like it was a little bit like this is shortcut for filling us in a little bit, but I thought that the performances that they had of the people playing the news people felt very true to life, and like the way that they spoke, and it was cool to hear them say things and then hearing the propaganda repeated by the ISB, and so that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a line where it's like the city that was already kind of like on edge is like tightening up, right? And it's like you could sense that in the show.
Yeah, it was a very intense episode. Like I felt like I was stressed the whole time because you just feel that tension, and you just know that something fucked up is going to happen, and it's just going to take like one little spark.
Well, there's a lot of characters that could die. Outside of Andor, it's like there's really everyone else could die.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's exciting. Not that like death is exciting, just that the stakes are high, and then
the way they do it is just so fucked up.
Yeah, and then and we'll get into all that, but like I remember saying last arc felt like a lot of setup, and like there was certainly not a lot of action. That's not to say it was bad. It just had a very more like relaxed feel to it. Much more spycraft heavy. This is action heavy.
Very, yeah.
And I think I've seen some references to Jason Bourne throughout the internet here over the last few days.
Okay.
And I would agree that is an accurate like representation, like a visceral action through a European like setting lens.
Okay.
And then I will say, so yeah, episode 8 incredible. I will say that I think I found episode 9 with Mon's speech and her thrilling extraction, and then the culmination of Cassian's kind of like cursed destiny concept that they've been planting to be like, I think, more interesting for me. Obviously, there's less action, but the action we do get in episode 9 is so personal.
It is,
that it feels more exciting to me.
It's just it's a little bit, it's more intricate too, which is nice, and there's so many people in play and so many things going on in the background, and like not like betrayal, but like betrayal and plants and like all that kind of stuff.
There's crisscrosses all over the
complicated,
place.
And it's just like you can see like the Empire like freaking out because it's like they're not in control in this one moment, and that's so fun to see, and like all the little things that had to be done for that to even come about, right?
100%. I mean,
it's just great writing. Like they could have made that boring, and they didn't at all. Like they could have just made it that she storms in and makes the speech and then has to run out, but they made it so much more intricate, and it's
and the fact that they're using, like, they love to use these real world locations or really large sets so you can move through space and like feel the sense of urgency to with a real honesty. I feel like that really makes the show like significantly more visually interesting, and from a storytelling perspective, like more thrilling. So I mean, and then just like episode 8, you kind of like this like looming, like we know what's going to happen, it's going to be tragic. You kind of just, it's kind of like this impending doom. Whereas I also have a really good sense of what happens with Mon Mothma in episode 9,
right?
But I know where she ends up. All the pieces in between are like placed in such an interesting like to knock over all the dominoes again is so fun to watch that I think it's more interesting for me. I would love to get a sense from people who've never seen Rebels, because there's some allusions to some of the stuff that happens in Rebels.
Yeah, that's true.
How they feel about it, versus people who have seen it. We've both seen Rebels, and the episode in question.
I feel like also like maybe how invested you are with Rebels, because I'm sure people who watched Rebels like once
don't remember.
Yeah, it's not as like but like I don't know. Rebels is one
it's
of my
kind of like peak Rebels though.
It is
season 3.
Rebels is one of our like at home, like kind of your background comfort shows. Like we cycle through Rebels and then we start Clone Wars and we watch all of Clone Wars and then we go back to Rebels. So that's kind of like our weekend putzing around the house background shows that we have on while we're eating breakfast or whatever we're doing.
Well, it's good that you got that going on. I can't bring myself to rewatch stuff very easily.
Really?
I will
say
love
rewatching it. It's just, I feel like sometimes you notice new things, or like you pay attention to some episodes more than others, and that's why I have weird like random info about all that.
Well, it's good. That's what I'm saying. It's good that someone's doing it, because I would love to be able to rewatch these Andor episodes before we talk about them, but I can only have time to watch them once.
Yeah.
So
unfortunate. Usually we like to do a rewatch, like at least a second time when we have just one episode to watch.
Yeah, So
I don't know how people are podcasting like same night, because I see some people doing that, like live streams and podcasts. But I mean, when you get paid to do it,
they get paid, and also they sometimes got stuff ahead of time. They got screeners ahead of time, and or they're just like, screw it, we'll just go live and just give it like our straight reactions like right away, which is fair enough. It's just not really our style.
It's a hustle.
And also, like, what are you gonna podcast till like 2 a.m?
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, I would do it, but I mean,
it'd be wild.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday.
Yeah. No, thank you.
When we have other jobs we have to go to.
Yeah.
That's why we need tell your friends about our podcast.
Yeah. So we don't. Yeah, we can quit our job.
Yeah. Be real nice.
One day,
everybody.
maybe.
Yeah.
I want to open a podcast cafe bar. Did I tell you about this?
Cute.
With a stage that can be converted into recording studio, so you can have both live performances and recording.
And just people recording as people are like in there hanging out.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't steal my idea.
Good way to make some money too, because you'd obviously charge a fee to record it.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like it creates like, and then you could like visual
community.
Background. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Be cool. Green screen.
Yeah, there would definitely be a green screen. But I don't want to get into it. I've got lots of ideas.
I'll invest.
Great.
You can have $200.
Well, we've got to start somewhere.
I'll buy the green screen.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so I mentioned that like this cursed destiny concept that Cassian's like fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that in more detail. But speaking of Cassian, like that struggle for self-determination, which is like echoed by the rebellion itself, and injected into the text literally with the great line from Clea, isn't that what we're fighting for?
Right.
I think is one of the most interesting parts of this entire arc.
Yeah.
And it just sits underneath all this kind of like bombastic stuff, but has so many layers of like, there's a meta narrative there because he has no self-determination because his character is being written by people.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you take that a step back into the universe of the show, then you have this idea of the Force's will, right, exerting itself on the world, and him, he says this line in the third episode, episode 9, where he says like, "Oh, I've just been lucky so far," but it's like that's not really what's going on. He has a destiny. We know. Not just from a like conceptual idea, oh, everyone has a destiny, you're destined to do this or that or whatever. But like we've seen where his destiny takes him.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we know how important he is.
Right. So it has this like whole other layer to it all. We talked about this last episode when we recorded about how like without Andor, there is no destruction of the Death Star. There's no, the rebellion dies at Yavin.
At
right?
Yavin,
So all that stuff is crucial for the survival of the rebellion and the success and the death of the Empire. And that the Force itself is exerting its will on him, and he's a non-believer, and how that all plays together. And then Bix leaving him because she is such a true believer is so unbelievable. It broke me.
Oh, it was so sad. I get it from her point of view though, because I think that Force healer really fucked with her brain.
Well, I don't think so. I think the sense that I got was she was already a believer.
I think she was already like a believer. No, not that she wasn't a believer. I think she believes in the cause.
No, I think she believed in the Force already.
Oh, in the Force. Yeah. No. I think she did, but I think more of the Cassian's destiny and like that healer.
Yeah, but she was already having dreams about that.
Yeah, about like I don't know if where he's supposed to be or something along those lines.
Yeah, he has somewhere to be.
He has somewhere to be, and I don't know if it's with you or blah blah blah, right? And she's like, it's not with me. She's like, if he stays with me, he's not going to do what he needs to do, so I need to bail because that's
and
what's
it's
best.
so crazy. So and it echoes. It's a reverse of the Vel and Cinta thing because for Cinta it was the rebellion always comes first. What's left, right?
Yeah.
And Vel didn't think that was enough. So you have Vel in the Andor role and Cinta in the Bix role. And instead of rejecting that for the love of each other, she embraces the destiny and the rebellion is bigger than both of us.
Yes, yeah.
And chooses that for both of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it's the very last thing that happens in these long 3 episodes, but I feel like it's important we mention it now because it's such a powerful motivator for Andor over the next 3 episodes, the final 3, and then into Rogue One. His like life partner, they called each other like husband and wife. Whether they were actually married or not is irrelevant. That's how they saw each other.
Whatever, yeah.
And so she chose the cause over him. And he always felt like the cause was just a means to an end, right?
Yeah.
The cause is important because it enables me to have the life that I want to have with Bix or in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Free to make my own decisions, which is what he wants to be able to do. Right? But she understands at like this spiritual level that which is beyond like because she doesn't have the courage to say it to his face.
Right.
She can't do it because she knows she would fail at it. So she records a message and she knows in her brain, in her mind, she knows that it's important that he be a part of this cause.
Yeah.
But also she knows at a spiritual level that he is destined for something bigger than her.
Yeah.
And is willing to sacrifice all the things that her future life that she wanted to have potentially for that bigger idea. Like I said, it broke me at the end of this. I was bawling my eyes out. I'm not gonna lie, it was really sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
It really hurt.
Is sad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what else have we got here? The Ghorman massacre. We talked about the sense of place, feeling of inevitability. Sorry, still dealing with the water situation.
Waterboarded yourself.
Yeah. Captain Kaido is such a crazy character.
Is that Scarface?
That's Scarface. Yeah.
He's a dick.
Truly messed up person.
He is just the worst.
What
He's
happened
up
to
there.
him? Yeah.
He's up there with the worst of the worst. I
yeah.
think.
I love that they call him a crisis manager or whatever. It's like
it's so gross. He's such a bad guy.
We talk about how this show doesn't have a lot of mustache twirling villains. This is one of them.
He is.
He is truly chilling.
I have so many thoughts about everything he does and how messed up it is. Oh, it's gross. Like to his own side too.
Yeah,
just
but it's to again means to an end.
It's chilling. It's so chilling to I wonder what it's like to just not give a fuck
to be a
to that
sociopath.
Level. Yeah, I guess he is. He's not. That's a full blown psychopath.
I guess I don't know because I'm not one.
Yeah, right.
It's really hard to understand.
I mean, it makes sense why you would be on the bad team.
Yeah, but he's
useful to have.
The thing he said was he doesn't really care about it. He's just I'm just looking forward to a comfortable ride home. Yeah. It's just a job.
Yeah.
Right? It's
why?
No ability to understand humanity as a concept.
I feel of all the Imperials guys, I do feel bad for the one captain.
Oh, who's these are not trained?
Yeah, they're green. I feel so bad for that guy because he's just what? They're basically just young men.
You put on the uniform,
and he knows. Endorsing. He just knows he doesn't know what's gonna happen.
I think he's a pretty good idea. Of,
he's just this isn't gonna go
They're
well.
They're being manipulated, and he's this is messed up.
He's you can't just send these boys out to deal with a mob. They're not gonna know how to do that properly, right? It's the one time I feel bad for an Imperial, it was him. But he's still being a bad guy.
Not me.
Doing his bad guy
Didn't
job.
feel bad for him at all. The propagandized news is one of those, I think, one of many reflections of our modern society. We also get one in the death of truth in Mon's speech. Mm-hmm. I think this is one of the things that this show does really well, right? And Star Wars has always has in the past, the original trilogy, the prequels have always been an analog for real world things.
Yes.
And so when you get away from that, it can sometimes feel a little weightless, whereas this gives it a lot more oomph, as it were. So that's, I think, really important. That term, the resistance to imperial norms, is such a messed up.
Ooh,
that's
right?
such a propagandist put that.
Everything
word,
is
that
so icky, and it's so but well done, so well done that it just makes you shudder on how. Yeah, messed up it is.
Yeah,
right. And it's very much stuff that you see in real life here in other countries and in other parts of the world, right? So we see these kind of things where it's every country, a dictatorship,
all over the place.
Yeah, but a more specifically in dictatorships where they're exactly resistance to the norms. There, right, can get you killed, can get you put in jail, can get you all these awful things.
What's important to remember is that in this, imperial norms is the norms before the Imperials came around is what they were doing, and then just trying to maintain their normal life is resistance to imperial norms. Because they're imposing their
new set,
their culture, quote unquote.
Yeah. Their new set of
onto them.
I'm gonna take this, and you're gonna be okay with
it.
Right,
but the thing that remember is that there's no such thing as being to fully complying, because they can change the terms on you at any time.
At any time, yeah.
Right? So
yeah, exactly.
And then that's again another example of the death of truth. And so it's
yeah. I love, like I said, we've said it before, but the little aspects of seeing the reporters and seeing the propaganda and seeing the way things are getting worded is just kind of haunting a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
I think it's kind of what not steals. It kind of again, it adds to that sense of impending doom that I think makes the massacre, the Ghorman massacre, feel not less impactful, but less thrilling in the same way that Episode 9 was thrilling.
Oh, it's devastating. You feel for those people so badly.
Right, it's more. You feel just more sad than thrilled.
Yeah, of course. It just makes your skin crawl because they're they knew about these things, and they're yelling out, trying to get people to listen to them about what's happening on their planet, and nobody is listening because of the propaganda, and it's just so sad, right? Like, it's
Dedra is not prepared to handle the stresses of
she's
this type of like
losing it.
atrocity on her conscience.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like hard to read her if that's what she's struggling with, or if it's more like the Cyril, like the personal cost.
I think it's a bit
or
of
both.
all of it. Yeah, like it's a little bit. I don't think she's getting disillusioned, but I think like maybe a little bit. But I think she's kind of more like, this is going a little. This is more than I signed up for. It's getting a little out of hand.
I mean, like, is this she's drawing the line here as opposed to she's torturing random people from Ferrex and stuff last season?
But then I think that was easy for her, right? But this,
but it's because it's a bigger scale.
Yeah,
what's the difference?
Yeah, I don't know. I think also seeing it, I don't know.
It's like because
for
she felt like
is.
what she was trying to do was for Ferrex, if I can speak for her, was trying to root out the rebels.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas this had nothing to do with that. This was just purely exploiting people for natural resources.
Yeah, it's just taking natural resources and it's a little.
It's using her skill set that she had honed for what she thought was like a noble pursuit of justice.
Yeah, like
quote,
I'm trying to find bad guys in her mind. I'm trying to find insurgents.
Right, to being used as a pawn in a game for screwing over regular people.
I also think Cyril's reaction kind of shook her a bit.
Oh, 100%. Well, he did choke her.
Yeah, but I don't think she ever expected him to be able to like do that.
Like rise up to her like that?
Yeah, like I feel like she always thought he was a bit more passive and like he would be fine. Like he was like in the back of her mind like, he'll get over it.
Yeah, but she was using him the whole time.
She was, but I think she honestly thought that would be that would go over fine. Eventually he would understand
or they would never know.
Or
he would never know what happened.
But even if he did find out, he'd be like, oh, but like you're gonna get all the glory. You're gonna get all this. We're gonna be great. Like
but they
she
embedded
thought
him
that
too
would be
long.
fine. But he got too attached to like.
Do you think he went native? Like, you think you get the sense that maybe because he has that interaction with what's his name's daughter.
I think he cared enough to not want to see
everyone murdered.
This, I think he was just like, whoa, like this isn't what.
That's
like,
so dumb. It's just so naive of him because it's like,
I think he got a little.
You were setting up these people to be arrested.
Yeah, but that's probably guilt too, though. It's like that, like tumbling guilt in him, and then it's like that panic of like. Trying to project that onto like maybe her too, being like
crazy.
You know, I'm sure it's a lot, but
he was fine if they got arrested in the pursuit of catching outside agitators.
Yeah, probably.
But he draws the line at them being killed. It's like you like come on.
Yeah.
What do you think was going to happen to them in their prisons?
Well, exactly.
You know, like it all comes across as just like he was living a fantasy.
I do think there is a pretty hard line though between like. Putting people in jail and like genocide. That is like
I suppose, but like a pretty thin one.
Planet massacre.
If you plan on imprisoning everyone, that's not that different.
Yeah.
So like I don't. He was living in a fantasy, self-deluded to some degree, but also he was being manipulated by Dedra. Mm-hmm. Also, it was a mistake ultimately for her to include him in this. There's no reason to include your personal, boo.
No.
In your plot that you're not allowed to tell him about.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just a recipe for disaster. And Powdergas should have saw that coming a mile away.
Especially to him too, because I feel like that's such an ego hit. Being like, oh, you're good enough for me to use you, but you're not good enough. You're not good enough or smart enough to actually be like in on the plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I think like that's pretty like fucked up to like someone's like psyche being like you're my partner or whatever.
Well, we thought we were on the same. Like we had the same goal, but we didn't have the same goal at all.
And you couldn't even trust me with like the actual information. Like that's F.
Right.
Like it's a bit of that. Like that would for sure piss off a guy like him because it's like you're still not good enough to be in the inner circle.
Yeah.
Like and you want to be so badly, and they're just like they're still treating you like a whatever cop basically.
Right. So how do you feel about his death?
Cyril's death. I felt a little bad for him. Because it felt like with his death that Cassian not knowing who he was like the last blow to his
my God.
His like psyche being like, this guy doesn't even know
he's
who I am.
completely broken.
Yeah, like he's just like, I'm fighting this this cause. I'm pissed off about this. I see this guy that I was chasing after for however long, and he doesn't even know who I am. Like I'm so insignificant.
Yeah, but why? given everything that's happening to him in this moment,
why
right?
is he tackling Cassian?
Why does he care about Cassian anymore?
I think it just like triggers him, honestly. Like all this shit's going on, and then he's like, "This fucking guy's here," and
or it's like, "Oh, there was outside agitators," because he thought
that
that was
too.
a bullshit lie. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, there actually is them. I can prove it. Maybe." He's kind of having this like a lot of things racing through his brain.
But he does like he's lowering the gun or the blaster like as Cassian says like, "Who are you?" And I think that just like,
well, it's because that
he's
question he wasn't prepared to not be recognized.
Yeah, which is like
because to him, it's classic. Like, is it from Mad Men, which is like, "I don't think about you at all." That line, which like.
But yeah, that is a blow to someone if they like, you're not recognized when this person is so important to you, and you think that you've been after this person, and they should know that you've been after you.
It's stalker behavior, really.
Yeah, and it's just like who are you? Like that would be such a blow to his like already blown psyche because he just got completely trampled by the ISB.
Do you remember the last time they were even in the same room together?
Wasn't it when Cassian tied him up?
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was back in season 1,
like in Ferrix, because
when he came back to town to try to catch him.
Yeah,
and Andor got the jump on him.
Yeah,
and then he tied him up and left. But he never really saw his face that well. And even if he did, it's like it was like 4 years ago. Yeah. He's not really gonna remember.
Oh, and back then he was just like a patrolman.
Exactly,
like, he wasn't really
exactly.
And that was the whole thing because at the time too. Cyril had seen Cassian's face, which is how he could like recognize him, but he had only heard Luthen's voice because Luthen told Cassian to kill him, and then Cassian was like, no, whatever, let's just get out of here, right? So, because that was the whole thing about like he knew what Cassian looked like, but he had only heard Luthen's voice, so he was like, I'll know him when I hear his voice.
Yeah, there's a whole term for this, and I wish I could remember what it is, but it's like there's a term for these like one-sided relationships. It happens in like with like YouTubers and stuff where it's like people feel like they know you because they see you all the time.
I don't know what that's called, but yeah, it's like when you like influencers have that.
Yeah, it happens all the time. But
yeah,
this is like an example of this. Like to Cyril, Cassian is like the reason his life is ruined.
Yeah. His reason
but
his
to
life fell apart.
Cyril is nothing.
Yeah. That's why I feel bad for him. Like, man, he just gets shot in the head after he's just like, cool, like ISB didn't trust me to know anything. This guy I've been after for years doesn't even know who I am. Like I'm just like, I don't matter.
But like he had so many opportunities. Again, it's why I don't feel bad for him because like there was so many opportunities for him to
chill out,
understand what was going on, and pull up.
Yeah.
But he kept going until the very last possible moment, and then it was too late. And then he let his rage and like his sore, like. He's so broken by what he's seeing. Mm-hmm. He's obviously moved by the massacre to some degree.
That's messing with him.
And feels
for
like
sure.
and like blaming himself. He wears some of it,
mm-hmm.
and then he doesn't know how to process any of that,
mm-hmm.
and then uses that like influx of strong emotion and just like, oh, here's a perfect outlet for it.
Yeah.
And I will say it's a great fight sequence though.
It is,
really,
yeah.
Like,
see, I thought maybe Cyril would get taken out more of like a trying to save Dedra again or whatever, but yeah, no, like that wasn't even part of it. Like,
but Dedra's still around, which is so interesting. Do you think we'll still see? She must still play a role in the final.
Yeah,
arc.
absolutely, she will. I think it's
I think she's broken now too. I think to be like, there's that great shot of her like trying to like loosen her collar.
Yeah,
and
her hands are shaking, and she's just trying to like put herself back together to like be her personality, right? But yeah, I do think she's definitely shaken. We'll see if she's shaken enough for it to matter, or whether she's still gonna.
I don't know, like how many atrocities can one person commit before they like completely lose it?
Well, I mean, yeah.
I guess the sign is that she's not a complete psycho sociopath, whatever.
Yeah, like this is
she
shaking
has
her.
some sense of understanding of humanity, but it's been so suppressed by even like there's a great line where she's like, "What have we even been doing here?" Cyril says. She's like, "We've just been following orders," which is like classic Nazi stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And we know that those like the Nazis who committed atrocities were haunted by what they did.
Yeah.
So there is like, where does she end up in like a mental asylum?
Yeah.
or does she defect? Like I feel like it would be really interesting to find out that she was a defector at the very end.
Yeah.
Right. We never
she
see her
would
again.
Be one though that's a little like because she has so much information that like
they could never let her leave.
No, like it's just kind of like she's a bit too good at her job.
Right, but that's why she would be such a valuable asset.
Yeah.
Right. And besides, actually, they don't need her. They already have Lonnie.
Lonnie, yeah.
They already have
They
Lonnie.
got Lonnie. They
Yeah.
don't need any inside help.
He
Yeah.
could. I mean, if they feel like Lonnie could have her burned, really,
Yeah.
at some point. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of overall thoughts was, and I'll just say in general, the show's ability to weave, and I mentioned, I think, at this last week, this interconnected web of thematic storytelling between different character parts
Mm-hmm.
and different parts of the story to tell this cohesive story that has like a handful of core messages.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get like mixed up in like what it's trying to tell. Like every every character relationship has like underlying, like especially like the romantic ones have like a similar underlying like message that they're trying to tell about the cause. Like because Dedra puts the cause above her relationship with Cyril, and it causes a different fracturing from what we see with the rebels, but it's just like another reflection of these same ideas. It's a very intricate show with a lot of confusing stuff, and we'll probably get things wrong as we get into like the nitty-gritty parts of it. But the fact that it's able to do it at the level it is at all and make it cohesive is why this show is the best, ultimately.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
People can't understand it enough that this is the best shit they'll ever see. It's just crazy. Okay. So Mon's break from the Senate. She decides to leave following her big speech. She's going to make the big speech, and it scares her. I find it interesting that her character arc doesn't really achieve. She doesn't really move much until the very end of this arc.
Yeah.
Because she still feels like she's kind of stuck in the same place that she was at the end of the first arc.
Right.
When Tay was killed,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just drinking away her problems and feels like under so much stress.
Yeah.
Right? Because I guess part of it is she's in the dark. She doesn't fully understand what the bigger picture that Luthen sees. She has some information at a higher level, but her life is completely absorbed into this thing that's so unbelievably dangerous, and so you can understand why she'd be scared.
Yeah.
But there's like this, she's mad at Luthen. She's mad at her assistant for being a spy. It's like, how have you not understood that it's bigger than your own ego on this stuff by now? So that a little frustrates me a little bit, but then she comes around at the end, and it's like this complete 180, and it's very satisfying.
I think a little bit with the whole like Luthen spy thing, 'cause that's her cousin, I believe.
Oh,
right?
Her second cousin or something like that. Yeah,
but because he's the one who's with her when she gets on the ship in Rebels too.
Yeah, he's in Rebels. He's a character in Rebels. He's wearing a very similar outfit, but he doesn't have the helmet on yet.
But I do feel like a little bit of that too is fear, because she's unsure. Yeah, she's scared. She's scared of the Empire. She's scared of the Emperor, and she's also scared of Luthen, because I think she's at the point where she's kind of unsure if
she doesn't trust anyone.
She doesn't trust him. Like, she's just like, are you gonna, like, when am I gonna become a problem that you need to deal with, like you did with Tay, right? So,
well, the truth is, don't become a problem. Is that it's like you be aware of the situation.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I feel like
you
it's
did become a problem. It they said this and they mentioned this in this episode. It's like, if she gets captured by the Empire, they have to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And the backup plan is to have her killed.
Yeah.
Because she knows too much, and she can't fall into the clutches of Imperial, interrogation droid.
But I think that's kind of what's all coming to a head right now too. It's all that panic of being like,
it's a lot of pressure.
I'm not safe anywhere. Like, if the Empire catches me, I'm not safe. And like, am I safe out here? Like, it's like I'm constantly gonna be on the run. Like, it's a lot to kind of like pull the trigger on, right?
Yeah, what about her family?
I don't know.
No reference
and that's
to them
the
at all.
One thing that I cannot let go.
We spent so much time with her family, and now it's like not a mention,
I was gonna bring that up. I was like, how is it not even mentioned what they're doing with her daughter and her shitty husband?
I think that they'll have to mention it in the next.
I guess maybe I would jump a year and maybe we'll see, because I'm like, how they can't just like gloss over that.
Yeah,
then why are you showing this family to begin with?
She doesn't say anything about
her daughter.
Any of them.
No.
When any of the conversation when she's talking about how scared she is, about how hard things are, even when she's having these like private conversations with Bale or anything.
Well, you think
nothing
with,
comes up.
Luthen, when she's talking about this escape plan, that she would at least be like, well, what about my family? Like, how
I don't think she
escape?
cares about any of them that much. Like, she sold her daughter off.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she doesn't care. Like, there's no way that you don't.
I think
care
she just
about
doesn't feel like
but
it's like
Her husband's one thing. Fuck that guy.
She doesn't care
but,
about Perrin. No.
No, but her daughter, that's different. Like, you're not just gonna not.
But like
care
again, I
about
feel
your
like it's like
kid.
she's already gone.
Yeah.
So maybe she's like,
Well, that's
she's
kind of
maybe
what I
moved
said
on.
about this whole like marriage, that she's kind of safe because she's just like not.
Yeah, but I don't think the Empire
again,
would see it the same way.
I don't think they would take her
again, I
anyway.
would not be surprised if we saw not Tay, but Perrin and what's her daughter's name?
I can't remember, but have to go into hiding or something.
Like no, hanging
Oh,
next
yeah.
episode, like as a message. Like
Yeah.
that wouldn't be shocking to me. Like because
No.
even the Empire might, she might not know that those people are not like close to her and we're not involved in this, but the Empire might not care.
No,
about
they
that.
don't care, and they would
So.
use that as a chip to get her
Right.
if they wanted her.
Even though
anyway.
realistically it wouldn't be effective. So
Yeah, but that's the one thing I'm like, you can't just gloss over that, because why are you showing us that she even has this husband and daughter? Like,
Yeah,
we
it's
didn't know about
crazy.
that to begin with anyway.
So yeah, I mean apparently like those characters exist in books and stuff, but like
okay.
again, it's you brought them into the show. You have to wrap up a bow on that.
Yeah.
If they don't next episode, that's a really interesting choice.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
just say
see. At least something. Like,
yeah.
show them in a cell. I don't know. Show them hiding. Show them whatever. But yeah, maybe Bale has some pull there. But
yeah, we'll talk about more about her speech when we get to it.
Yeah.
And then what do your thoughts were on the rebellions are built on hope line that we get dropped by the bellhop?
Oh yeah, right. That we get dropped by the bellhop. I like it. It's like that's where he gets it from, right? And it's this guy had so much. I like this bellhop character because
He's so cool.
He has so much depth in such a short amount of time. Like, we get the whole backstory about his father dying in that first Ghorman massacre and him witnessing it, and like you can feel his animosity towards the Empire. He still wants to stay close and keep an eye on what's happening in that
site. He can be useful in this example. Like, he's finally useful here.
Right? And then, when Cassian shows up for the second time with a fake name, a different one than the last time.
Right. And Cassian doesn't recognize him at first, I don't think.
It's nice that he's, like, he helps him out and everything. Like, there is so much fun writing here with this character because it is such a minor character, but I feel like they added so much to him within, like, 2 episodes.
It's like a great character that adds texture to a world. And this...
Yeah.
I don't know. My first reaction was, ooh, that reminds me of like the Solo situation.
Oh, no, I don't think it was that bad.
But I've heard some compelling arguments, one being that it shows like how a small idea can gain a foothold and like become this bigger thing.
Yeah.
And like a great example is the Winnipeg Jets playoff run. There's the We Believe thing. Which was already a thing before the last second comeback.
Okay.
But then after that happened, that We Believe slogan started to be like adopted by the team itself.
Yeah.
You're seeing it everywhere. It kind of gained a life of its own. And, that's maybe not the best example, but it is interesting because you think about it, that line gave me chills in Rogue One when I first saw that movie, which was like Jin's use of it to convince the rebels to take this larger action in face of fear, right? Hope beats fear.
Yes, yeah.
Because they were all afraid of this Death Star. And they ultimately shake that to go to Scarif and make a difference. And that so this idea that this one little bellhop with this nice little slogan was able to, despite I think dying in this episode.
Yeah, he throws a bomb and
he tries to hide from it, but I don't think hiding behind a desk saves you from a grenade. So,
No.
Maybe it does. I don't know. And so this one little idea can like gain a larger concept, right? And then obviously A New Hope is like that. That's that whole underlying term. And
I do like that it comes from someone who,
is closer to the whole thing.
Is closer to it, and someone who like actually has a lot of passion for what's going on because it's directly happening to him and his family and his planet and like, his home. So, yeah, I like it a lot. It didn't bug me that that's kind of where Cassian gets it from, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay, let's get into the recap here. I've used a recap written by Dan Gavosdin on Decoding TV. I've been looking for a comprehensive, not necessarily scene by scene, but like plot point by plot point recap that I could use as like a baseline instead of rewatching 3 hours of television.
Yeah, I see.
And so I don't love AI, the use of AI generally, but I did take that article and use it to spit out a bulleted list of things that happened. And then I've added like my own thoughts and stuff to it for the purposes of this recap.
Yeah, I appreciate the transparency.
Yeah, it should be said. But it's a really, really well-written recap. This Decoding TV's great little website that covers television.
Like
Dan
Spark
Gosden.
Notes.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, just like, hey, take this super long recap and just give me like the high-level overview of it so we can talk to it without getting... without me having to like think through each individual moment in an episode and then write. This just saves me a ton of time. And as one person, it's the one thing that AI might be good at is recaps occasionally.
Yeah.
So
we don't have a
use
team
that.
of assistants here to do it for us. So.
Yeah, no, we do not. Okay, so before we get into the individual episodes, I will say, as like we talked about last week, what was happening concurrently in 2BBY.
Right.
For context.
Lots of Rebels stuff.
Oh, yeah, lots of stuff from Rebels. Fortunately, there's a timeline page on Wikipedia that I could just like pull basically everything from.
That's nice.
So it's like the complete timeline starting with like 40,000 years in the past all the way through. So I'll just read these. I think it's partially in order, but there might be some stuff that's a little bit out of place. So with Thrawn's help, Price rises to the rank of governor of the Lothal sector. She's a real... see you next Tuesday, if you know what I mean.
Sucks.
With Price's help, Thrawn is promoted by the Emperor to the rank of Grand Admiral and is given command of the Imperial Starfleet's 7th Fleet. Governor Price solicits the services of Thrawn and his 7th Fleet in dealing with the growing rebellion on Lothal. So this is where like this all starts coming to a head. The Ghost Crew retrieve the Y-Wing starfighters from the Reclam Station, which become part of the Rebels' Gold Squadron, which is relevant to this arc because Gold Squadron escorts Mon Mothma back to Yavin.
Right.
And these are the Y-Wings, which is important, which we see some of them at Yavin at the beginning of this. So that had happened just prior to the events of this arc, is my understanding. Meanwhile, Sabine Wren recruits Wedge Antilles into the rebellion, Wedge obviously being a big part of the original trilogy. I wouldn't say big part, a part, I'll say. A recurring character. Had a bigger role to play in like the expanded universe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Darth Maul returns to the Spectre team, the Rebel crew, and attempts to take Ezra Bridger as his apprentice, but after a skirmish on Dathomir that proved Ezra Bridger's Jedi compassion, a disappointed Maul parts ways in order to find Obi-Wan Kenobi alone. From Maul's lair, Sabine Wren claims the Darksaber. So that's happening again, like now-ish. Ezra meets Saw on Geonosis in this year. This also ties into Rogue One and Andor because this is when the Empire commits another genocide of the Geonosians to keep the Death Star plans quiet.
Yeah.
And that's Saw Gerrera, who we just saw recently, kind of catching up with the Empire's plans here. He thinks there's something more going on.
Yeah.
Interesting, fun idea to think that the Saw Gerrera we just saw losing his mind has a first one-on-one conversation with Ezra Bridger on Geonosis shortly after the events of what we just saw with Poe and all that stuff. So it's so
well, Saw
crazy.
also goes nuts on Geonosis in that.
Yeah, he does.
Too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
because he like flips out because he sees the one Geonosis and he's carrying his little egg, and it's like the last female egg or something of their kind. And Saw's trying to kill him and the egg to like be like, no, F these things. Like they help
build the Death Star or whatever.
No, it's more about the Clone Wars.
Oh,
stuff.
Because they were separatists.
Yeah, because they're separatists. Yeah, so
okay.
he's like losing his mind trying to like, and Ezra and the team are like, no, we're not just gonna like kill off this species.
Last species, yeah.
And the rest of his kind because that's a queen egg or whatever. So yeah, there's a whole thing, but.
So yeah, that happened. Just fun little like to think about. Oh yeah, okay. There's a little like through line directly to the people and characters of this show. Sabine, the Wren clan of Crown West battles Clan Saxon, killing the Imperial allied Mandalorian Governor Gar Saxon, and then the Mandalorian Civil War begins, which ties into, of course, the Mandalorian, which deals with the fallout of that and the Night of a Thousand Tears, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
They just can't help themselves with the genocide.
Because this is when Sabine gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan
yes,
as well.
And then that sets them down a kind of a dark path.
Yeah.
Maul fails to kill Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
and dies.
Real quick, like.
Real quick, like. I
Mhm.
feel like we'll still see that again on screen.
think?
Maybe. Alexander Callus is rescued before his
Agent
cover is
Callus.
blown because he is another mole
He's
in
turned.
the Empire. Yes. And this happens right before the events of Mon Mothma's rescue.
Right.
The Battle of Adelon happens at Chopper Base, resulting in significant defeat for the
That's
rebellion.
Such a cool episode.
Bendu, a powerful force-wielding being, intervenes during the battle.
He's so cool.
Bendu's the coolest.
He's
some of the best
so
lines.
cool.
And then Commander Sato, R.I.P., sacrifices himself to allow the Ghost Crew to escape.
Mm-hmm.
And then following the events of this arc of Andor, the events of Rebels Season 3, Episode 19, Secret Cargo, take place immediately following. So if you watch Andor Season 2, Episode 9, and then watch Rebels Season 3, Episode 19, those are directly that's the timeline of events that you could pick up on where Mon goes after she leaves that safe house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that we know where we are in the timeline, let's start with Episode 7, Messenger. The rebellion is now centralized on Yavin 4, focusing its growth into an organized force. Interesting to see more of the Yavin base explored, at least for me.
Yeah.
Great
I love
bit of
their
like
house.
Yeah.
I want to live in that little tree house.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's like, can I do
feel like
that?
there'd be bugs, and there's like not great bug protection there.
I don't think they're worried about bugs in this.
Oh, you should be more worried about those giant dinosaurs that'll eat you.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like being like, we complain because we're Canadian. There's not a lot of bugs here.
Mosquitoes.
It's like mosquitoes, but like people in Australia deal with like bugs and poisonous spiders and snakes and giant spiders that live in their house all the time.
The people in New Zealand deal with none of those things.
It's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
They don't have that kind of stuff there?
They don't have that kind of stuff there. They have like nothing. That's not true, but there's very few things comparatively, especially to Australia, in New Zealand that are like deadly. In fact, there's like no large carnivores of any kind there, as far as I understand.
Delightful.
So like they can just like
I hear
animals just like run wild.
Australians think like bears are wild out here. Like they're like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, there's big things that can kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in Australia there's also no big like aggressive. I mean, a dingo can steal your baby.
Yeah,
obviously.
You gotta watch out for that.
But that's just like a dog. And
yeah, but like a black bear is basically like a dog. You can just scare them away.
Mm,
Maybe not a grizzly.
A lot more deadly than a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on the dog.
They're about 100 times bigger.
Yeah, but they're skittish.
Not 100 times, 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
What could kill you? 10 people-sized bears or 100 dogs?
No.
I'm not gonna get into that. Okay. So, which would be smaller than a regular bear, I suppose. I don't know. Have you ever seen a polar bear? Those things are deadly, though. You can see them up close at the Winnipeg Zoo.
Yeah, those are
scary looking, but not when they're just like doping around. Thing with bears, really dopey.
They are dopey, yeah. Especially when they're swimming around looking all cute. But
how funny are those videos where people are like, this bear cub is like comes home with like a dog, and it's like that's not a dog.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's so.
You mean
funny.
A dog comes home with a bear cub?
Yeah. That's funny.
Or like a
they look
wolf
so cute though.
Yeah.
I think in parts of Russia there's some.
Yeah, there's
tamed bears.
Yeah, but that's Russia, and they're probably not tamed in a good
They
way.
seem like they would be very similar to dogs in like their way that they behave, other than the fact that they probably stink way more and eat way more.
Yeah,
and have much more easily could kill you.
That's kind of like when people have those tigers too, and you're like, well, that looks cute until it decides it wants to eat you or maul you.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
I've watched a thing that apparently cats don't see people as people, like they can't distinguish that, so they just like they think of you as like the same as them.
Oh, that's cute.
Isn't that weird?
Like a baby,
I guess.
Babies
think that everyone's babies.
No, babies don't know that they're separate from their mom until like well after 6 months.
They don't even understand object permanence until like they're 2. So
they don't understand that they're their own thing until like way later.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Babies are pretty dumb. I don't know what to tell you.
Very useless for the first year.
Yeah, they're vulnerable, but also a lot stronger than you give them credit for.
It's true.
Despite their soft, squishy skulls. Okay, so where were we? I just thought that the Yavin base, great exposition through visuals, storytelling here. You get I love how you land with these new recruits. You kind of hear how they're like, okay, go report to your duty officer. food until you do so. Leave the weapons behind; those will be given back out to you, et cetera, et cetera.
Feels
really
a lot more
cool.
organized for the first time.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. That's the thing. It's like now
Yeah.
this is an organized rebellion,
Yeah.
and it's in its nascent stages. So yeah, there's still people like Cassian who are like, I'll just do whatever I want. But,
yeah, I like how he says that to that one dude.
Yeah, it's like with the day that I have to ask for permission to come and go is the day I'm
out
done.
of here. Yeah.
It's like, well, that day is like soon, so you better figure it out. By the way, that guy specifically is General Draven, who we know from Rogue One, a veteran.
Right.
This is a line from StarWars.com. A veteran of the Clone Wars, Davitz Draven represents Alliance intelligence on the Rebel Council. With the Alliance too ill-equipped to oppose the Empire directly, Draven and his operatives work in the shadows, waging war through sabotage, infiltration, and assassination. Draven makes no apology for his methods, regarding them as necessary responses to the Empire's power and cruelty. He's not that different from Luthen or Saw necessarily, but has a much more strict sense of bureaucracy, I guess, and like a line of command, chain of command.
Good to have.
You gotta have some of those people. You gotta have people who
you need the organized ones.
Exactly.
Yeah, type A's.
You have to get them eventually.
Yeah.
Right. And just like, by the way, I didn't write this into my notes later, but we do see the return of Cassian's buddy at the very end, coming on one of those like recruits. What's his name? Who helped them helped him in the prison escape. He's in Rogue One.
Oh, is he?
Melchi.
Melchi
Comes back because they find his little blaster that they got from Morlana 1 on the table. Vel finds it. Which is a fun little callback. Connection back to season 1. Which is another connection to that moment is because he says, I have to let people know what happened here about what happened on Morlana.
Right.
Not Morlana 1, but on the something 5. The base, the jail.
Narkina 5.
Or Kina 5.
Yeah.
So that keeps being repeated. People need to know.
Yeah.
People need to know.
Like, go tell people what happened. Yeah,
that happened. Like, I think we hear 2 references to that.
Yeah, it happens on Gore, too.
Yeah. So Cassian and Bix live in a jungle bungalow, healing from a blaster wound and kind of hiding out. You can really see the relief on Bix's face with like what it means to be like away from Coruscant and like somewhere truly safe. Like they could go to bed and wake up without having to worry about.
Well, yeah.
Necessarily, I mean
that also when she killed that guy. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true.
The doctor, what's his?
Dr. Gorst.
Dr. Gorst. Yeah.
Yeah, but
being away from Coruscant is obviously way less stressful. On your own rebel base, you're like,
having your own little house.
Here. Yeah.
Like which is probably not something
there
that
aren't
everyone
Imperials
gets.
like across the street.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can just be yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Luthen through Willman asked Cassian to assassinate Dedra Miro on Ghorman, who he initially refuses. I like this introduction because Willman's back from Saw's stuff, which we weren't sure that would happen.
Yeah.
So that's nice to see.
Yeah. Like, oh, he survived the gas.
But he's so secret. It's so interesting to see this like culture of secrecy amongst these spies because I think now in this kind of more organized rebel fighting force, you can't really have as many secrets. I mean, obviously individual soldiers don't know everything necessarily, but like they're not necessarily being told to mistrust their own fellow soldiers. Whereas like Luthen's group is like, you can't tell anyone anything anytime.
No.
Even your best friend.
No.
Right? So I think the only exception that Cassian has for that is probably Bix. So he's asking Woman, like, where were you? And he's like, I was out. Doing stuff.
Yeah, doing things.
Right? And he's like keeps pressing and doesn't get an answer, right? And Andor is kind of a bit of a joiner here. He's late for a meeting, etc. But Willman's a little, he's still kind of more like, we need to be strategic and make these kind of like follow Luthen's commands and like do these like secret missions. And like Andor's kind of like Luthen's time is kind of running out. There's a bigger command structure here.
We're a lot more organized.
We can't be
here.
going off and just doing our own little missions. But in this case, it's personal, so he kind of eventually comes around to it. So there's talk. I love how there's this conversation with Vel. I think it's Vel with Bix, where it's like there's this talk of wanting to promote Andor but he keeps
Right.
like acting out on his own, right?
Yeah.
And it makes it really hard for them. This is, it's funny because it's like you can think about this being relatable and like a true to life, like people in your life that are capable of things,
Right.
but are like self-sabotage themselves all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to give you more responsibility, but you just showed to me that I can't trust you.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not saying I can't earn that back or you can't earn that back, but it's like you keep just like pushing people away and like not giving yourself the best opportunity to succeed in your own role.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's like I'm imagining these meetings of like, yeah, Andor's really, really good. He's our best spy. He's a super spy.
Yeah.
We should really and he does get promoted. He does get promoted to captain in Rogue One.
True.
But they're like, yeah, but he keeps running off. We can't trust him, so he can't promote him.
Yeah.
Right. So I just like that idea that there's people that they believe in his abilities, but they don't believe in him as being like a leader yet.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love how and then we see General Draven as he's like leaving to go on this like personal mission. He's like, you can't just leave. He's like, well, I am. And so you see General Draven kind of give him this kind of like joiner talk, and you see his little like emblem patch, like his like rank insignia.
Yeah.
It's just like a sewn on little like piece of felt, whatever.
Yeah.
But later on, they get those little like, I don't know, pieces of plastic that hang off their shirt, like I don't know what you'd call that.
Yeah.
But like a little, it looks a little bit more like
professional. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think that's a fun little detail that they include here. Early days, they haven't got all of that stuff figured out. They have the like rank insignias like figured out, but they haven't like implemented like badges yet.
Right.
Which is
yeah.
cool. Anyway, this guy Draven will eventually lead the Operation Fracture to free Jyn and her father, Galen Erso, in Rogue One. So he's a very important character. A mysterious Force healer. This is a really fascinating part of the story.
Yeah,
like
this is kind of like out of nowhere.
Identifies Cassian's unique destiny, hinting at a spiritual guidance in his journey.
Right.
So it's rare, I think, for Tony Gilroy to touch on the Force at all. Not that interested in that side of the story. But we did see some of it in Rogue One. Not since Donnie Yen's Chirrut Inway have we seen such a direct through line to the mystical elements of Star Wars with Tony. But he does, I think this is so expertly done. This idea of a Force healer, which is like a more commonly understood concept than the Jedi maybe at this stage, as being someone that's like Force sensitive, has abilities, wasn't trained necessarily outside of this healing concept.
Yeah.
Kind of a kook, right?
But she can heal.
Right.
That
no,
is
I think it's important. Like, she is actually legit.
Yeah.
In this.
Okay. So she's not just like a seer.
No, she doesn't. She comes across, or like Andor sees her as like a charlatan.
Yeah, because his mom was like, Mom didn't fuck with them.
Yeah.
Right?
The mention of Marva.
He was just like, no, like Marva didn't believe in.
Right.
in
But
that.
it's like, so he won't. But it's like a tarot card reader or something to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's like, no, I don't know. You got to give it a try. Like, what's the worst case? It doesn't work. It's like, whatever. And then we just go back to trying to heal you through Bacta or whatever. But she spots him across the hall, like across the courtyard. So cool. And is like, this is important, but not as important as I got to go do over here.
Yeah.
Leaves what she's doing, comes over, and like, it's like when, I don't know if you've ever seen this, like when kids are like, spot somebody and they're like, they get obsessed with this one random person for no reason. And it's like, what are they seeing?
Yeah.
And you see this in movies. Sometimes it's a trope in movies where like dogs or children are able to like identify something special about someone that is like otherwise unknowable.
Yeah, you see those things too about like in the mystical world, if you believe in it.
I don't, but thank you.
Of like the occult people who say they can like talk to the dead people, and like they'll just be walking around, and like somebody who walks by them, they'll just go like, they're like, oh, like your grandpa says
hello.
How's the red car doing? And then like, people are just like, what the fuck? Like, right?
I do have a red car, and my grandpa is dead.
Yeah.
And would want to know about the car.
Yeah, like those kind of things where it's like, I don't know if I fully believe those things, but apparently they do happen where people are in tune with,
I believe it,
ghosts and stuff. But yeah, like right in that thing of like, no, zeroing in on someone and being like, yeah, there's something about this person.
So that's an interesting like piece on its own, right? And then there's this idea of like there's somewhere he needs to be. right? So Bix has dreams that align with the healer's message, driving her to the conclusion that Cassian is meant to be part of the rebellion.
Yes.
That's his destiny. So this is a quote from the actual recap. She has a vision that allows her to see his, quote, strength of spirit. Cassian storms off, but the healer tells Bix that for most people, she can feel the weight of the past that they carry. However, Cassian is gathering that pain and loss as he goes with a purpose that might never become clear. Quote, he's a messenger, unquote, she says. There's some place that he needs to be. Maybe you're the place he needs to be. We know that Cassian is... So she can see, but it's not clear, right?
Yeah.
What does Yoda say about visions?
Oh,
right?
yeah, like they're clouded or they're
Right.
like not always...
Right.
Yeah, they always say that...
Careful to be your visions be.
Yeah.
Right?
They're not always the full picture. It's
Right.
kind of like illusions.
Always in
or-
motion, the future
There we
is.
go. That's what it is. Yeah.
Right? Luminous beings we are. The Force is my ally, and a powerful one it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a place that he needs to be is such a perfect line because it speaks to the moment, in this moment of this idea of destiny. He has a greater purpose
Yes.
that I sense as a Force person that to Bix is like really resonant, right? But then there's from a meta perspective, we know that he literally has a place to be. That
Yeah.
beach on Scarif
Yes.
next to Jin.
Yeah.
They're holding hands, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in like a moment of like we did it,
Yes. Yeah.
resignation. It's a beautiful moment in that movie, but I think in general, like that, just saying there's a place he needs to be. She as a like interpreter doesn't fully understand what that means.
Right.
She can't see that.
She just
But
knows
she's
he's
like,
important.
so she's like, well, maybe Bix, you're that, like, maybe you're the person he, and like
Yeah.
that might also be true because, right, like the future is always in motion.
Yeah.
If she hadn't followed through with her ability to basically decide for both of them that the rebellion was more important, she might have been that person that she was meant to be, but then other things could have transpired. So it's like, it's really, I just think it's an amazing piece of like inclusion here. I also think it's cool to have Force healers in general. We know that Force healing is a thing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I do think this really kind of pushes Bix to maybe what she was already thinking too. Because I feel like Bix kind of has this underlying feeling that Cassian sometimes makes decisions about her.
Well, she says so last time in the last arc.
And
right?
not about the rebellion, and she needs him to stop that. Like, and it's more important for him to focus on the rebellion than to focus on keeping her safe or being with her. So that's why she kind of has to make this like almost like sacrifice, right? Of leaving because she's like he can't keep making decisions.
It is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
She's sacrificing
Yeah.
a future with this person
She's
for
like,
the greater good.
He can't keep making decisions based on her, so she's like, I have to take myself out
Yeah.
of the equation so that he can do what he needs to do, right? So
Yeah, there's this line from Dan Gavazin here, the recapper. We know that Cassian is bound for a greater destiny, one that will ultimately bring about the destruction of the Death Star. But this is the first indication that all of this might be in some way guided by the Force, far earlier than Luke Skywalker's last-minute involvement.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's a great line. Yeah, and then again, it's important. We should keep repeating this. He was actually able to heal his wound.
Yeah. Yes.
So she's not full of shit. It gives this so much more weight, I think. Whether Andor is able to understand that or not, or willing to accept that. Okay. On Ghorman, Dedra is overseeing a crackdown. The Empire plans to mine the planet and impose martial law. Martial domain, they call it, which is similar. That it'd be a martial domain is basically being able to just take whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like we own this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Mining will begin in 48 hours. They have no time to wait. Because they're so impatient, they were literally landing mining equipment before they could even enact their plan.
Yeah.
Because that's how much they don't care. Because they already have the story wrapped up enough to be able to just say whatever they want. I love this line from Partagaz. He's like, yeah, I don't know the science. By the way, he makes some reference to a science facility that does sound familiar. I wish I could recall it off the top of my head now, but I think that's a fun little bit. But then he's just saying like, yeah, they ran out of all the alternatives, and so bad luck, Ghorman.
Yeah.
Bad luck,
Ghorman is wild.
That's one way of thinking about it.
Yep. And that's why you're just like, oh yeah, he's right up there with the psychopath, sociopath.
Well, I think it's interesting to think of is like, so he's having regular conversations. He was like, oh, I met with who's the one with the mustache? The other like ISB, like big head, Yularen.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, I just met with Yularen. We made these decisions. If you're watching Rebels in concurrency with this, Yularen is pretty like involved in that show, and specifically right before this happens is working directly with Thrawn to uncover the mole in his fleet command, and is on site with Thrawn. So
yeah,
it's just like interesting to think that like, oh yeah, no, these, and they are regular. He's like, oh, the Emperor's taking interest in this, and like, so he's having direct conversations with Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
So like one person removed from the Dark Lord himself. So
Dark Lord.
All right, so there's a reference to the fleet above the planet, an armada, I think Cyril says, but we don't get to see it, which I think is a shame. Dedra's informed that she'll work with a crisis specialist, Captain Kaido, Scarface himself. Something bad must have happened to him, man. Despite her concerns, she's placated by promises of promotion from Partagas. All the right people know that you did the right things. Don't worry.
Yep.
Right?
Don't worry, you're going to get yours.
You'll get your promotion.
Yeah.
Cyril, now deeply entangled with Dedra, is used and misled. Their twisted relationship culminates in a passionate kiss. That's what the AI wrote.
Yeah.
I wouldn't read this as a passionate kiss. I mean, and that's also partially because I also read all of Dan Gavosdin's recap.
Yeah.
I didn't just punch it into AI and ask for a recap. I did read it first. So I didn't read it as passionate so much as manipulative.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem that engaged in it. And so, yeah, it's kind of gross, I feel like. It's just like, he's like, what are we doing here? Just following orders. He's like so desperate to understand that like what he did was worthwhile.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and he died a failure. Fascinating how much like free reign Cyril is given like amongst this Imperial base. I think at deference for Dedra's authority. Cyril is Dedra's partner, and because of that, they don't want to piss Dedra off, who's in charge of the operation. So they give him kind of the ability to like, he can make demands, be like, I want to see, where is she? I want to know where she is. All these things. And they're like, well, I don't want to piss Dedra off, so I'll let that happen, which is classic authoritarian, like rule through fear stuff that the Empire is like really bad. It creates a lot of leaks basically, and and weak points. It's what makes all the rebels really good at being able to infiltrate Imperial bases and just be like, you don't want me to tell your boss, do you? And they're like, oh no, you go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his whole thing was like looking for outside agitators, right? That was what their mission was. And it's like, and she's like, oh no, there is evidence that there is actual outside agitators now. And he's like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Why are you lying to me? Like, what's actually going on? So it's like this complete fracturing of their trust. But how much do you feel like Cyril has become attached to Ghorman at this point?
Yeah, I feel like like I said before, I think it's like a mix. It's a mix of him getting attached because he didn't think it was going to go this bad, and him not being trusted. So it's the mix of the anger from not being trusted.
So that you think that pushes him into the arm?
I think so. Like plus a little bit of guilt, plus a little bit of like, what the hell? Like this isn't what we were here for. We weren't here to like necessarily mess with these people. It was supposed to be a bigger thing. It was supposed to be about outside agitators, like others. It wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, but I think he's attached. Like I think he clearly has feelings for Ryland's his daughter.
Yeah. No, I think he definitely cares about these people because I don't think he ever thought that they would necessarily get hurt. He thought he was going to get bigger, badder guys higher up.
Right. You guys are just pawns in my big game.
And
you guys
like,
understand.
They don't really matter.
You get it. You guys get it.
I'm just trying to go after when you use the small drug dealers to go after the big drug dealer.
Right. But if you're a snitch, the small drug dealers still care.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Anyway,
absolutely.
I just think that my read of it is because again, the show does a lot of work trying to give you little bits of information to catch you up on what's happened over a year's time.
Yeah.
Is that he has not gone fully native.
No.
But he has a lot more of a soft spot.
Absolutely.
For this planet, the culture, the people that he knows personally, but also just like the people in general, and that he's he I think has warped or kind of deluded himself into thinking that he's helping these people.
Yes. Yeah.
People being like capital P people of Ghorman.
Yeah.
By manipulating them,
Mm-hmm.
when ultimately he's the one who's being manipulated. So it's just like this whole chain of manipulation. So I genuinely think he is, if he knew what was going on, he would have acted sooner to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and he doesn't know until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Mon Mothma grows increasingly wary of Imperial surveillance and inaction in the Senate. Her driver is still watching her and becoming less subtle about it. That sequence where he's like, "Oh, where are you going and when?" And
yeah.
she's like, "Who's asking?"
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I love that line where she's like,
"Who's asking?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask for a new driver. Don't bother. They might send someone smarter."
Yeah. Yeah. Like this one, at least we know he's watching.
Yeah,
he's so dumb about
that's
it.
funny.
Yeah.
Imperial propaganda is all over the Senate. We kind of hear some of like the stuff from Ghorman being echoed here, despite we knowing that it's not true. The former Ghorman Senator Ambassador Oren approaches her, Mon, to thank her for her courage and bravery. He knows the Imperials are behind the bombings and is infuriated that so many of his colleagues have accepted the propaganda without any pushback.
Yeah.
Mon tells him that she's doing what she can, but it's just a sad petition for now. And she's like, my hands are... I tried to help you before, but you couldn't... You didn't want to, put your hands up.
Right.
To like make us... Didn't want to call attention to the Empire, which is true of all these people. They don't want to call attention because they'll be the next ones.
Yes.
But yeah, it is important to note that the bombings at the Imperial naval facility were 100% a false flag.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely
staged. So he's basically resigned to the fact that his planet is doomed, and at the very least, he can thank Mon for having tried, even if he couldn't have the courage to do more. It's a nice scene. Cassian and Wilmon, meanwhile, arrive on Ghorman via U-Wing, which is a great Rogue One connection, which that ship was designed for that movie. It feels like it fits right in with like contemporary rebellion ships.
Yeah.
And for all we know, is the same U-Wing that they fly in with all the crew, with K2 and all them.
Yeah, could be.
And yeah, so we never know. It could be. But there's also a great scene when they fly in low over parts of Ghorman. You get to see the planet, like these like valleys, of forested valleys, and these webberies, and then these big mountains. It's really beautiful. And they sing about it later, but it's the beautiful countryside. And I think they use scenery from like northern Italy, I think. And Spain.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's cool to think there's places like that look like that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they arrive via U-Wing. He's assumed a new fake identity, but despite it being a year later, the bellhop at the hotel recognizes him. He's now been promoted, and is able to cover for him as he checks in.
Yeah.
You get this like interaction with like the other like host at the hotel, where it's like
she'll tell.
She's like she will report you.
Yeah.
And so it's like this culture of distrust and like collaborators with the regime and stuff like that is such a toxic thing.
Yeah.
It's really gross. It makes me think of like, if someone who would like rat out the Jews in World War II or something. It's like you are no worse than anyone who pulled the trigger. But like you don't even have to be that direct about it. Just like this idea of like, if you bend to every single rule that the Empire wants from you, you are collaborating every day, all day long. But the message is that it's a trade-off, that if you do that, you get protection, you get safety in exchange. But it's a lie. So we assume that we try to talk about some of this already, that we assume he's dead already following this arc.
Yeah.
We get the line, "I hope things work out for you. Rebellions are built on hope," which is, I would like, it was played off as so like nonchalant in the scene when it's like, "Oh, I hope things work out for you," and then the response of like keying in of this bellhop to key in on the word hope, and then like tie into the rebellion as like knowing that that's, you are with the rebellion, and I know that I'm doing my part. I don't know. It is resonant.
Good. Yeah,
I've come around.
I
to
like
it.
it. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's just
we see I also like the sequence, like, oh, we gave you a room facing the plaza.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm a heavy sleeper, which is a line he made to him before.
Mm.
And he's like, oh, goody. It's like, oh, really? Most people don't really want to be facing it's really noisy. Anyway, he sets up his like briefcase gun, which feels very like spy movie-esque.
Yeah, it's very sniper rifle-y. Yeah.
They're talking about like how with Willman, like how hard it would be to shoot through the window. Like, is it protected or not?
Like how many shots would it take to get through the window?
She stands on the balcony a lot, so maybe they don't have to. But then he's like setting up, and then recognizes that there's like stormtroopers right above him.
Yeah.
Which is like, he uses that like
the mirror
on a stick, which is very spycraft. I love that.
That is, yeah.
We also find out that Willman has a sweetie. He's got
sweeties everywhere.
He's got sweeties all over the galaxy. He's got them in different area codes. Anyway, there's a song about it. The Ghorman front gathers, arguing about what to do. Caro argues for a peaceful protest, sensing that escalation will only lead them to getting killed. But there's arguments like that it's too late for peaceful protests, that they need to take action. And then there's this sentiment that like they're fighting amongst themselves, despite the fact that that's exactly what the Empire would want them to do.
Exactly.
It's kind of tragic.
It is. It's because it's going to go bad for them. So like seeing their infighting.
Also, they seem to know that's going to go bad for them,
right? Yeah.
But they're like, they've gone too far. They can't turn back now. This like sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
That like, even if I wanted to, we have to do something.
Yeah, they feel like they got to fight to the end at this point, right? So.
Yeah,
can't do
like
nothing.
A year ago, they were like, "Yeah, how would you feel if this is your planet?"
Yeah,
right. And so it's like, well, this is our planet. We have to make a stand.
Exactly.
Right. And like, I think Caro here has kind of like burned his reputation as being like he was pro-action, but now he's kind of being this like pacifist, and everyone's like, how can we take you seriously now?
Yeah, you're not built for it.
Yeah. Tensions build as Imperial forces stage a trap under the guise of a protest response. So it's really interesting, I think, seeing this dichotomy between the soldiers landing on Yavin, which we saw at the beginning of the episode, and the ones landing on Ghorman, the Imperial ones, at the end of the episode, right? Both are green in their own way, but one group is being brought into a larger narrative. The other one is being completely kept in the dark and put to use as bait.
And fodder, basically. Yeah. Like they're just being brought in to
cannon fodder.
Yeah. And that's just the stark contrast between obviously the Empire and the Rebellion. The Rebellion is bringing people in to train, to work with, like to feed, to all those things, right? It's bringing them in because they need the help, they need the numbers, but then the Empire is just like, we got enough numbers. Those guys, just bring them in.
Yeah.
We'll make sure it looks good, and they probably die a hero.
It's like at this point, it's like they don't even need to even bother with the pretext. It's like you could just bring these people in, just shoot them all, and no one will even know.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like for Dedra, it's like, well, we should need to at least go through the motions, I guess, of pretending like it's real. But it's like it's even like because we hear Partagaz saying like, well, they're resisting the Imperial norms. So
I don't even know if Dedra knows that they're bringing in the Imperials to like kill them, basically.
Well, I don't think because as we know, she has larger control over the operation.
Yeah.
And then this Captain Kaido is dealing with the details, the nuanced details. That's his domain. By the way, we'll talk about this later, but maybe I should mention it now. When he passes the buck back to Dedra, he's like, I'll remind you the chain of command. You're in charge here. I'm just a trigger supervisor.
Yeah.
You have to pull the trigger.
Right.
Isn't that so wild? It's like
messed.
You put all these pieces in place, but because she's the one that says go ahead, it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
It's like, I'm holding the gun, but you have to tell me to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's not my fault. So it's not my fault I shot him. You told me to do it.
Exactly.
Right. It's like, okay, buddy.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so we're hearing that, and it's like, and she's like, you're landing mining equipment already.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not even bothering to wait for me. Like, what is this? It's so disorganized from her perspective. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Just go pull it off.
Yeah.
And everything will be fine. Okay, any final thoughts on episode 7?
No, I don't think so.
Moving on to episode 8, Who Are You? It's a great line to use for the title.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Who? Beautiful establishing shot of Palmo, capital of Ghorman, to open the episode. We've not seen the city from this angle before. I'm shocked they waited this long.
Yeah.
But another job in like establishing that sense of place. Turns out that the plaza that we've been spending all this time in is actually the top of a large hill, and that looks like a city that looks a lot like Paris, like these tight
streets. Like tight streets.
But like again, maybe some other combination of other cities in Europe that are built on a hill, unlike Paris, which is not. And then you have this plaza at the top of the hill, and the city's built around it coming down. So it's like the center. It's the top and center of the city, and then you see that the Imperial Plaza, the Imperial Armory is built, and it's like they built it in such a way that it's like taller than the tallest part of the city, which is already super tall.
Yeah.
Which is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But again, it's being done as like a sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a
it's
throwaway
imposing.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just sticks out like a sore
Well, they
thumb.
always do that. They like always, whenever they build their buildings, they always ruin whatever like architecture and landscape, and like wherever they are, it's like they put this big ugly gray
the dome on
fucking
Lothal
thing. Yeah, and it just like it never fits with the vibe of what they're taking over.
No, because it's all about imposing imperial norms.
Yes, exactly.
Through like intimidation, basically. Okay, so Imperial troops blockade the plaza in Palmo, setting the stage for the massacre. And this is the culmination of like the biggest false flag event in, maybe not the biggest, there's been a lot. Another in Star Wars history, but the one that we've seen like from start to finish, all the mechanisms of it. The plan is as follows. Was to keep the plaza closed for long enough to stir unrest. Open it again, quote unquote, open it again.
Yeah.
To encourage a large crowd to join, and then box them in so they can't leave while turning up the pressure until it explodes.
Yeah.
The news has talks of a general strike and breaking curfew. None of those things are really happening necessarily. There's no general strike.
No.
But that term is often used as incitement or excuse to incite.
Yeah.
Martial law. It's like no one's following the rules of society, so we got to enforce them.
Yeah.
Right? But again, it's all just propaganda. Again, allusions to reality here. I've heard people calling for general strikes around the Trump administration. So there you go. We haven't reached martial law phase yet, but I mean, I feel like it's only a matter of time, unfortunately. So that's sad.
Word.
Anyway, so as the protest begins, Carl Rylance tries to stop his daughter from walking herself into a trap.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trap. Realizing too late that his daughter Enza has committed the Ghorman front to this path that is doomed, right? She's like watching them set up in the plaza. And he's like, oh, I understand what's happening here. This is a setup. And it's so sad. Like he's like desperately trying to get people to like, don't go. It's a trap. You're going to be killed.
Yeah.
But they won't listen to him. And he's just like distraught. And at this moment, he runs into Cyril. And this is one of my favorite interactions in the entire 3-episode arc, because he's like, I know what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
But he still doesn't have enough information to like put all the pieces together. He doesn't know about the mining stuff. He's like, why are they landing mining equipment on my planet?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to steal from us? And Cyril doesn't have good answers for him. At first he's like trying to make excuses. He doesn't really have anything to say. And then there's this, maybe my favorite line, which is like, what kind of being are you?
Yeah.
That would do something like this, that would come, pretend to be our friends, and then stage this massacre so you can kill us all and steal from us?
Yeah.
What, like, do you not have a conscience? It's this, I think it's an entirely relatable feeling when you see someone behaving in a way that's completely unconscionable to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you able to do this and sleep at night? Is really what he's asking.
Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly. What kind of person are you? What kind of
I love the use of being, because it's like it's broader than person. It's like they're two humans in this case, but like we know there's other beings in the universe, in the galaxy,
like,
and it's
you're
like
a monster. Yeah.
you are like, what type of piece of garbage would
does this?
like wearing a human suit is able to do this? And like the thing that makes the scene work so well is that Cyril actually understands his perspective.
Oh yeah.
Is like he's like, oh no, I did fuck up. It's like, no, you don't understand. I was just trying to use you for outside adjectives. He's like, I don't. What do you? It's too late.
It's too late for that now.
Like it's in it. We're happening now. You are the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And like I think it was important that someone told him that.
Yeah. I think exactly. It's so great that we get
so
this
satisfying. It's like, oh, go fuck yourself. Get absolutely shredded by this.
Yeah. Like that confrontation was so necessary to have, like for someone to tell him off for how terrible.
But it's also tragic because like Enza's like so.
Yeah.
No, it's not Enza. Caro is so like distraught. I've used that word already, but like there's no other better word for it. It's like he's just so broken down, but it's like he cannot believe that this is happening in this way and that he can't stop it, and that he was a pawn and that he was used, and that here's this person to show his face to be in front of him now. The nerve. He's like he wasn't killed just then.
Yeah, exactly. Just shot straight in the
that's
back.
why him killing him later is like twice as satisfying.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, wow, yeah. You should have done that earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, so I like the crowd has these noisemakers.
The little like horns.
The little
kinda,
horns. Yeah, it feels very European. And then they have this chant, "We are the Ghor, the galaxy is watching." And it's like, boy, is that some loaded language, right? To the Empire, it's like, yeah, they're watching you all be they're seeing you, but not in the way that you want to be seen.
Yeah.
Right, as not as martyrs, but as
agitators, as terrorists, yeah.
Right? And for the rebels, it is like, hey, look at these people who are being trampled, right? And in the name of the Empire. And so it's like it's the same message from two different perspectives, and they want them to be seen. Both sides want it to be seen, but these people are cheering on their own demise. It's like, it's tragedy.
It is. It's so.
Cyril's moral conflict reaches a peak as he confronts Dedra about her deception and the Empire's intentions. Oh my god, he's like, what is it that you're not telling me?
Yeah, that's like pretty. You can see she's scared. Like, she's like, is this guy gonna kill me right now?
Well, it's like, he's having a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
A mentee B, as we like to call it.
Yeah, mentee B.
She tries to repeat the Imperial lies, but he's just like, stop it.
Enough.
Stop it.
Yeah.
We're not doing this anymore. You have to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
So she eventually reveals what's actually happening. She tries to suggest that if they just go along with it, they will be rewarded.
So gross.
And he's like, "Oh, you didn't mind the promotions." And it's like that one line was just enough to be like, ugh.
Yeah.
For Cyril to be like, "Oh, he got the ick."
Yeah.
From that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have had it a long time ago, probably. It's kind of like it's sad because he's like, at one point he saw her as this like, we're the same. We just want justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be. Like, there's just lawlessness, and I want justice.
Yeah, we're both passionate about our jobs.
Right.
We both want the same thing.
And it's like, you used my passion for that, and what I thought was your own passion for that, to these completely warped and distorted ends.
Yeah.
That is at direct odds with his idea of justice. This is injustice being enacted upon these people in the name of justice, which is like the most perverted way of showing it. So it's like, it's really disgusting. But again, it's like a really satisfying scene because he has that great line like, "Good luck, Dedra."
Yeah.
Walks out on her and then like just leaves the building and like walks
over
that barrier,
jumps over the
right
barrier
into the crowd and just like starts like taking it all in, trying to process it all, but he can't.
Yeah.
Right. There's that moment where he walks into that room where like the other families are being kept and like the KX droids are in there, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
oh no,
yeah." The one just like stares at him.
It's so creepy.
Like,
it's so creepy.
Yeah.
And that was K2.
Oh yeah, maybe. Just like
so.
Leans over.
Yeah.
Like, ew.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
So as tensions rise, Dedra is asked to give the go-ahead to Captain Kaido. who reminds her that this is on her, and he's just the trigger supervisor. Unbelievably, she ultimately approves the mission because she doesn't. I mean, it's not that unbelievable, I guess. She is so far along. There's no way she's going to call it off. She can't.
Yeah.
Even if she tried to, it's like Kaido would just be like, okay, we'll just do it anyway, probably. He, as much as he acts like it's not my responsibility, I think he would have just been like, well, we've done all this work. We'll just...
Yeah.
They're going to cause this to happen regardless of what we do. I'm just here to make sure it goes the way we want.
Yeah.
Right? So either you initiate it or they'll initiate it. It's beyond their control at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Once the mission starts, Kaido uses the inexperienced soldiers he brought in as bait and uses a squad of stormtroopers to close the protesters' exits. This is like number one. If you're a protester and your exits are blocked, fear. It escalates immediately. This is why, generally speaking, when in like big, large-scale protests, the goal is not to box them in.
No.
Because that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's like weaponized for this purpose.
Yeah. It's like fish in a barrel, basically.
Exactly. Outside, the crowd has begun singing a song. This is like in the Ghorman language. It's their like national anthem, basically. This is what we learn in the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah. It's very pretty.
It's a beautiful song. It talks about like enjoying their beautiful planet and like being on the highlands and in the valleys.
And I feel like it also is like a little bit of a switch because it's like the we are the Gore, the galaxy is watching feels a little more tense, feels a little more angry.
Yeah.
But this feels like softer, more passionate, a little bit more like passive. Like we're not aggressive.
This is Karo coming through his message through of peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest, yeah. Like we're not aggressive. Like it's just like they're singing their national anthem, and it's just
like look at what and they're still doing this to us.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's like we're not rioting, we're not screaming, we're not doing anything violent. We're just singing our song, and it's still.
And I love that it started by that like super French-looking guy.
Yeah,
with like his like squished face.
Squished face.
Yeah, because he's appeared like a bunch of times. He's the guy he almost got basically part of the reason.
Yes.
What's her name was killed.
Yeah,
and he's like the one of the meetings earlier. It's basically saying, "Look at this. Look at what they made us do." And then he sings this. He starts the one that starts the singing it, and he's crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the patriotism.
Yeah.
Is coming through as like pure sadness. Like it's over. So yeah, it's really touching, and I think relatable. We also find out that Kaido has his own sniper up in above the.
Oh, this part is the worst.
Yeah, and so he aims this sniper at not the protesters, but his own soldiers.
Yeah.
To incite the riot, basically.
Exactly.
And then once that happens, once the shooting starts, I think this is shot like so crazily, like the way it's so perfectly put together, because you get these shots of like people just like standing at the barrier and then just like a soldier looking at him, just shooting him point blank.
Yeah.
It's like that person didn't do anything to you.
No, but it's that panic, and that's exactly what happens, because it's like their guy gets shot, they don't know where the shot came from, so they're just shooting everyone now.
Right, and like that guy gets shot off the monument.
Yeah, he's the first one.
Yeah,
like that's they're just, because that's the thing. All of a sudden, these Imperials that are green. Are panicking, so they're just shooting everybody.
Even the guy in charge who's like trying to maintain control is like, it's too late.
And then obviously the rebels on that side are going to shoot back. Yeah, so it's like it just
because there are rebels, because they've and as Dedra points out in the first episode of this arc, they are armed now. With weapons they stole from
Imperials.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're counting on it because they want violence.
We gave them guns. Yeah.
And so
but
I think to Dedra, she's like, well, that puts me in a lot of danger, and also personally, but also like it just creates like this powder keg situation. So there's weapons all over the courtyard, and once the shooting starts, like the craziest part for me is the stormtroopers on the stairs who are just like shooting into the crowd
and just walking down the stairs. Ugh, yeah.
And like, people are trying to leave and they're just shooting them as they try to leave, like shooting in the back. It's like, it's wild.
It's terrible.
It makes you think, like, the way this is shot, it's like, what would you do in this situation? And it's like, run for the nearest cover.
Yeah.
And
like, what do you do? It just that's a massacre. It's a genocide at that point. Like, you're just like,
there's that one guy like freaking out. He's like got a blaster, but he's like freaking out on the like he's
He's
man,
like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They try to charge, but it's completely ineffective. Once the KX droids get released, it just gets even worse. There's that great sequence where he like kicks the barrier and is like
into that girl.
And she goes flying, and then he grabs Ryland's daughter, throws her, kills her. So she was doomed from the beginning. But like it's tragic. But like showing how deadly they are, it's like
how strong
scary.
they are. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. So I don't think they have guns.
They don't need guns.
No, they're just tossing people and killing them and throwing things. It's like just brute force.
Which what makes that turning on K2 at the end much more like scary.
Yeah, right? Definitely.
So Cassian using the scope of his blaster. I love the using a scope as a
little
telescope.
Yeah, telescope. Yeah.
He tries to like peep on Dedra as this is all going on. It's crazy how he's just like maintains so much calm, right?
Oh yeah.
And he's like trying to stay off into the side in the shadows, and he's like waiting for his opportunity to like to take her out because that was his mission.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and he's about to. He gets he's got a shot lined up, but this is when Cyril spots him in the crowd after having his continued mental breakdown.
Yeah,
we talked about it already, but it's like he just sees red.
Yeah,
because I think if he was thinking properly, he should be going for cover, not going to fight somebody. But anyway, he just sees red, and this ultimately costs him his life.
Yeah,
unknowingly though, he does save Dedra's life.
Yeah, he does.
He like trades his own life for saving Dedra's.
Yeah.
And dooming his own in the process. We get the great line, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
After this
absolute
knockdown, drag him out brawl, which I think is like a refreshing action sequence for this show.
It is, yeah. It was really great. But yeah, I just love that you see him start to drop the blaster.
Well, he just seems so defeated by that. Like that's all it took for him to be like. I think he would have picked it up and shot him.
Probably.
Not that long after. So, what do you make of the line? "Who are you?" We talked about a bit already about it being like this power dynamic difference. But is there more to it in your opinion?
Like, do you think Cassian knows who he is? Is that what you mean?
No.
I just think it has the weight to it of kind of how we mentioned before that in terms of Cyril, like Cassian was his number one wanted list, most hunted person at one point, and
a true villain in his story.
He's nothing to him.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it just doesn't matter, and it's like that loss of like what he thought he was.
But it's not even just that. It's like he's not important to the Empire either.
No, he's not important. That's the thing. He's not important to the
anyone.
Empire, and he's not important to the rebels. He's not important at all.
So it's like, who are you?
He's so disillusioned.
Who are you to the Empire? Even no one.
No one.
Right?
Yeah.
Who are you to me? And nobody.
Nobody.
Right?
Like it's like you're not good
enough.
Who
are you to yourself? Which is the question that I think that Caro is posing him. It's like, what kind of being are you? Who are you?
Who are you? Yeah.
Why would you do this? Right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't have it. And so like there's like all these layers to it,
yeah.
and then it's ultimately doesn't matter.
But it's just like he's insignificant to like everybody, basically.
Right, but he doesn't even know how to answer that for himself, which I think is like the damning part of it.
Yeah, it's just. Oof.
So Cassian, meanwhile, escapes with Wilmon, and Drina, his honey, broadcasts a message from the front, the Ghorman front headquarters, condemning the Empire. I love her accent here. Like, it just makes this sound so much more, like, tragic.
Yeah.
Is there no one to help us?
Yeah.
This is murder. The Empire built the fire. They made this fire and led us to the slaughter. Now they expect us to die without even knowing why.
Yeah.
The conspiracy we feared is real. It's here today. Yeah. Anyway, that's my impression. I hope everyone liked it. And so Wilmon asks Cassian to tell people what happened here, and there's this great like stone and sky. This happens a couple times between a few of the Ferrex people, but it's nice of them to finally draw this line right back to the thing that they say at Marva's funeral. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, I thought we were never going to see Wilhelm again.
Yeah, but shocker, he survived. Yeah. Right? I think it's nice to undercut that expectation that like because like.
There's been a few times I thought he was going to die so far. Yeah. He's the one that keeps kicking.
He keeps going, right? But he might lose his leg, so there's that.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'll get a robot one. He'll be fine.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually.
Yeah, it's Star Wars.
So he's like, you can't go back. It's too late. And he's like, I have to go back. I have to save my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And Cassian's like, oh God, you're such a bleeding heart. All right, you do what you have to do. But he's like, one more favor, help me load this CX droid body into this truck.
Yeah. It's like, hold on, pick this up for me.
Yeah.
Let me get this guy in here.
Yeah. I do like that little moment though. And then like Sam gets a little bit of redemption. Cinta's murderer saving their lives.
Yeah.
Because that's such a cool moment where
he does save Cassian's life from yeah, that's true.
Because he's like that KX droid's like coming down the street and like they're just shooting and nothing's doing anything, throwing people out of the way. Yeah. And just like right at the last moment, boom, crash by the truck. Great
Cuts
moment.
Him in half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so Andor's driving away. He's listening to this radio broadcast. Ghorman 1. It's like CBC 1.
Yeah, underground radio.
Yeah, underground radio station, and pirate radio. And then he's shed this tear of like he genuinely feels the tragedy of what's happening. Which is something I feel like you don't really see Andor reacting in an emotional way very often.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
This is like him having this moment, carrying. It's like he has K2, who will become this partner of his as he leaves someone he like a personal close friend of his behind, hoping that he'll see him again, but assuming he probably won't. Yeah. So like it's a nice touch, like surprise that he survives. Dedra's trying to come to terms with what she's done. She's asking for Cyril, bring him back, but there's no sign of him, and she has to come to terms with the fact that he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't think we like hear her get the news explicitly, but I think she just like understands that he's dead. Like so many people are dead, so it's like
they're probably all dead. Everybody who's in that square is dead, except for if they're not Imperial. They weren't shooting from the outskirts.
Yeah.
Like,
she knows that this death of this partner, how much she truly cared for him, she doesn't really know. I think she's coming to terms with that. Did I actually care about this person? Is it my fault he's dead? Is it my fault that all these people are dead? Yeah. Like she has to now carry this on her conscience forever. And like a year later, what does that mean for her? Yeah. Like when she was last like traumatized, she ended up with Cyril.
Yeah.
And now she's been traumatized again. Cyril's dead.
Yeah.
What does that mean for her? I feel like she's going to get the promotion she wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But be haunted by this.
Well, who's going to help you through that now?
Right.
Like, it's like Partagas? Like, that guy's a...
Yeah, he's just as bad as everyone else.
Yeah. He's...
Worse, maybe.
Yeah. A stone face.
Right, the thing with Partagas that's bad is that, like, the worst part about it is that he knows that this is, like...
Yeah.
So messed up, because he's smart enough to know that it's messed up.
Oh, yeah. He just doesn't care.
But doesn't care enough to try to like encourage the Empire to take different action.
Yeah, no, he's just like,
he's just willing to go along with it. Yeah. Bad luck, Ghorman.
Yeah, just a bad day. I don't know.
I might remember bad luck, Ghorman for a while.
Sucks to be them.
Yeah, sucks
basically.
to suck. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, but like she's squirming in her collar. What do you feel for her here?
Yeah, I think it's just the culmination of everything. Like, it's probably losing losing Cyril.
He's losing out on his blue milk cereal now.
Yeah, right. Having that interaction with him where he's so angry at her, it was probably like shook her a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and then him just being like so mad that he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to walk into this crowd, I guess. Like, it's definitely her fault that he's dead because she brought him into this thing to begin with.
Yeah.
And then seeing the actual like fallout of this, I think to her it was a lot worse than she probably thought it was going to be.
Well, she didn't want this mission to begin with.
No, and that was part of it too. Like, she was just like,
And now here she is supervising the genocide of the Ghorman people.
Yeah, and it's just like it's all coming down on her, and she's just like with a panic. Like, you see her handshake, and she's trying to stop it. Like, she's trying to like.
I genuinely think that
her.
There's no way she can continue working for the Empire after this.
I don't know. I just like.
Not earnestly.
I wanna believe that this is like a turn for her, but at the same time, like, where is she gonna go?
Well,
she was brought up in a kinder block. Like, all she knows is the Empire. She has no family. She has no friends.
Yes,
like,
but she just saw what that leads to. So
yeah,
I think there is an element of like this character is still here. She's gonna be here for the last arc. She's not in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So there is some culmination to this character arc. She's certainly not on a path of. She's just getting worse and worse and worse and more evil and more evil and more evil, right? She's bending the other way in terms of a character arc perspective.
Yeah.
So what's the logical conclusion to that? Either she's completely mentally broken by this and is completely useless to everyone, or she breaks all the way to turning,
Yeah.
meeting Luthen and understanding that Luthen was the person behind all the things that the whole time, and then them both dying somehow.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe
I don't know.
she has a thing that happens similar to Cyril here, where like she finally is back on this Axis thing, finally figures out who it is, but it's too late.
It's too late. Yeah.
And then ultimately she's only seeing red. She blames this obsession on Luthen, and then they kill each other.
Yeah.
That would be interesting also.
Yeah, I guess we'll see next week.
What do you think?
But it's so hard for me to know. Her character I find pretty hard to read and pretty like complex.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to know her motivations other than like she shows no emotion most of the time, right? Like she's so flat.
Did we talk about how she had studied female psychopaths?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, well,
the actress, right?
Yeah. The actress had studied female psychopaths to like understand like how she would manipulate Cyril.
Yeah.
And, like,
how they would work.
They don't typically do their own dirty work. They make other people do it for them.
Yeah.
And stuff like it's just a really fascinating,
so creepy
concept. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So it's I find her character is very gray.
It's very opaque. It's hard to read, but it's like she's breaking under the pressure here.
She is.
So what's under that? Like once that pressure breaks her completely, what does that mean?
Like she's breaking, but then she's trying to pull it back together and like everything's getting
because
put back.
What's she gonna do? Like collapse in front of all of these? Like if she's gonna have a mental breakdown, she has to hold it together long enough until she's
alone
in her own private space or whatever.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, and it's like okay,
I don't know.
She'll go back to Coruscant. She'll get a bigger house and all that stuff.
If
but
this
it's
doesn't like disillusion her, like I don't think anything will. Right.
That's what I mean.
So,
it's like there's no. This is like, as bad as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So.
And then we get this like really tragic shot of Cyril's mom.
Yeah.
Watching the Imperial propaganda, she's crying.
Yeah.
And we leave it with her. Like her grief is where we leave it. Whether or not she like understands truly what's going on or what happened to her, I mean, the answer is probably not. Or how it happened to Cyril, but it's still sad because she did love. That was her only family. Left.
Yeah, exactly.
Any final thoughts on the battle of the massacre?
No, it was just
of.
Like I said,
Ghorman?
it's so chilling. It was so well done. It's by far like so far I think like one of the best episodes of the entire series. Like
of all of Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, it's so intense and it was so well done. This
is easily some of the best shit you'll ever see.
Yeah.
In terms of like execution on like a big idea. Like they meant the number of extras. That's the word I was going to use. The number of extras they used, like the amount of practical effects that they used, the like meticulous planning and filmmaking. They actually like the shooting of it to make it feel coherent but also chaotic.
Yeah.
Is to be able to create that emotion in you of like anger and sadness and rage and this and like again that sense that I had at the beginning of this like inevitability of it all is like so. This is storytelling, visual storytelling, filmmaking at its like some of its
everything
best.
Just works.
It's just
like
clicking at all its cylinders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion. This is a reference to the line that Andor says to Mon right after while he's escorting her out of the Senate building. Right as things get really intense, he says, "Welcome to the Rebellion."
Yeah,
which is I think a little ironic.
This is what it is.
It's a little ironic because she'd been a part of the rebellion for a long time.
Yeah, longer than him.
Yeah,
right? It's like I've been here a while.
But she was still so like. She had blinders on about the violence.
Yeah, like kind of behind the scenes. He's like, "This is the real rebellion.
Yeah.
Like, this is
it
what
requires
it feels like. It's
murdering,
intense, and it's yeah.
And like I don't know, like if you can call it murder in the sense like in war, enemy combat. You're not murdering enemy combatants. That's not like the way it's framed necessarily. You are literally killing them, but you're not murdering them in like the sense that like a civilian murders another civilian.
Right. Yeah.
So like in war. There is death and killing, and this like is very eye-opening for Mon Mothma.
Yeah. Although I would say Cassian killing the driver is murder, because like that driver's not a soldier. He's just like
he's an informant for the ISB.
Yeah, but he's not.
He's
not a
actively going
gun.
to look for Mon Mothma so he can turn her in.
Yeah, that's true. He's a rat, but he's not.
I mean, if that's not a active member of.
No, I'm not saying he's not an active member. It's just, yeah, I guess that's true.
Like
what?
I was just following orders. Is that what's his excuse? Like, I don't know. Come on.
He's a spy and he's shitty at it.
He's a bad spy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, undercover operative, basically.
Yeah.
The episode opens with the Ghorman anthem, what we heard being sung previously, a kind of fresh reminder of the death we just witnessed. Haunting kind of choral version. Ambassador Oren is arrested in the Senate. By the way, this is a completely, and I'm sure that the creators of the show aren't necessarily thinking about this when they're doing it, but the decision to make it raining on Coruscant in this moment is interesting.
Okay.
Because it's following a massacre and all that stuff, and it's like it certainly adds drama and tension when you add the rain. But the weather on Coruscant is entirely engineered.
Oh.
So I like to think of this idea of like, yeah, after like this big event, the Empire like makes it rain on Coruscant because or at least over the important parts of Coruscant because it like adds a sense of drama and doom to their whole thing. But I mean, from a meta perspective, it's like that was a decision they made from an artistic perspective because it added to the sense of trauma in the episode.
Yeah.
Whether they're thinking about the engineered weather or not is irrelevant. It's fun to think about that as a Star Wars nerd.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ambassador Oren is arrested in the Senate, signaling open repression by the Empire. He had no warrant, no charges, just arrested. It's almost like being shipped off without any due process is super bad, and that people should be more upset about that.
Yeah, it's odd that usually that doesn't happen.
It doesn't usually happen. You don't usually see that happen. Yeah. And that like to do so brazenly as like a government agency in direct, abuse of the Constitution or whatever citizens' rights should be like this massive wake up call for the people. But like they're so afraid, so there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Mon speaks with Bail Organa here, played by Benjamin Bratt. Trying to maintain her calm, but like largely failing at it. I think she's kind of cracking. Speaking of cracking under pressure. And like taking heed of Oren's warnings that they're all next. He says, it's my people today. It's yours tomorrow. Remember this day. Remember Ghorman. Which couldn't be more true when you're talking about a scene that includes Bail Organa and the fate of Alderaan.
Of Alderaan, yeah. It's...
So yeah, that's pretty chilling stuff. Bail knows that they need to buy time for Yavin to get established. So he can't go with her following this speech. But he also knows that Mon Mothma can't wait anymore. She has to do this. And then doing so allows herself to take on this new role as leader of the public face of leader of the rebellion. So he's going to help facilitate her giving a speech because she's not really given time on the floor. So they're going to do this whole elaborate scheme later. And then the recap was asked this question, like posed this question: Does Bail providing a pathway for Mon to make this speech in open rebellion against the Emperor draw the ire of the Empire to Alderaan?
Probably. Yeah.
It's a non-zero factor, I think.
Yeah, like he's already kind of said to her that it was going to, like he couldn't leave, but, like, because she says to him, like, I'm going to do this and leave, but, like, you have to stay. Like, it's just as dangerous for you, right? Or more dangerous because you still have to stay here. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that, I don't think they pick Alderaan, like, out of anything, because Leia is from
They pick Alderaan because Leia is from
Alderaan.
Alderaan.
But they know that Bail, like...
Yeah. It's a nice bonus for them to kill Bail when...
Yeah, they're like,
he's
he's on the list anyway.
He's on Alderaan when it explodes.
Yeah.
So
because they have Alderaan in their sights and they know that it's rebel activity.
Yeah, because originally she's like, it's Alderaan, and he's like, which was a rebel base, but he's like, that's not gonna work.
It's not gonna.
It's not populous enough.
Yeah.
It's not big enough to be the demonstration that we want.
Yeah.
Fucking Tarkin. Name a system.
All of that.
Name a target, a military target. It's such a great moment.
She's like, I'm on a diplomatic
Right.
mission.
Yeah.
You're part of the Rebel Alliance.
That's a different scene.
Yeah. No, I know.
You're and a traitor. Take her away. Yeah. That's a great moment too.
Yeah.
He's just poking at her.
Yeah, like in her
which is
face.
funny to do that. Like, imagine Darth Vader with like a little,
Yeah.
his index finger, being like, "You're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor."
Yeah.
It's also funny to think about the original line readings on set, which sound nothing like obviously Vader sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
But again, yeah, obviously, like,
Take her away.
Alderaan as a whole is on their sites. They know there's rebel activity.
So it's like a nice bonus
Yeah.
double. It's a two birds, one stone situation.
Like after this, they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna watch Bail a lot more close. And
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean at this point, Leia's like a year away from joining the rebellion outright. So
yeah, exactly.
Or
No, she's already part of it.
she's already a part of the rebellion, but like
Yeah,
publicly
she's already
speaking.
part of it. No, yes, yeah.
Okay, so Cassian is posing as a journalist named Ronnie Guja.
Yeah.
I
Guja.
like how I think it's a brilliant take to have a hard to pronounce last name if you have a fake name, because it feels so real to correct someone. Oh, you're not saying it right. This is how it's and then
right.
It's disarming. It's like a really brilliant disarming tactic to be like, oh, like I was getting it wrong. My apologies. Like now you're on the defensive for getting the name wrong.
Yeah.
And then that gives you the level of like, it allows you to manipulate the situation.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more power in the situation. Yeah.
Like he does it with like, that guy, the news report guy from the Senate. He's like, oh yeah, well, I guess you just have to be, with the group today or whatever. He's like, oh shoot, that's okay. Yeah, but it's like, it would have maybe been harder if he didn't start with that. So I think that's a fun thing. And anyway, he's assigned to protect his cover story. He's covering the Ghorman massacre. He's just come from the Mid-Rim, and he's now covering the Senate stuff. But his real mission is to protect Mon during the escape. It's important to note, though, that Mon doesn't know Cassian yet at this point.
No, they have not met.
In the behind the scenes, they talk about how they first meet, and it's like a nice first time to get work together, but in a long time.
Yeah.
Because in Rogue One, it's Mon that introduces Captain Andor to Jyn.
Yes.
So it's like a nice through line there. It's also going to make it harder for her to trust him because she doesn't know who he is.
Yes, yeah.
So this is the moment where like he's talking to Clea in the next he's getting his admission and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And telling her that he wants out after this, and she calls him out for being selfish.
Yeah,
which is such. I love Clea so much.
Yeah, she's great.
I think she's maybe my favorite character after B2, obviously.
Of course.
Sweet B Cassian.
Yeah.
By the way, that Cassian thing is like it seems like it's the go-to reference for B2.
Oh,
on
is
the internet.
it?
Yeah, and
Aw.
it's like I can't
Just
help
a little
it.
stutter.
Yeah. So he's like, I want out of this. I'm done. I've done enough.
Yeah.
And this is what Clea says in response. You were a witness to the Ghorman massacre. You'd think there'd be no stopping you.
Yeah.
The senator you'll be saving is about to risk everything, putting a voice to the atrocity you just survived.
Mm-hmm.
You tell her you're done.
Yeah.
While you're there. And then Clea scolds Cassian, but he just wants to have the ability to make his own decisions. And she says, quote, I thought that's what we were fighting for.
Such a good line.
Which is like, like a verbal slap across the face.
Yeah,
You're like, wake the fuck up, you stupid, selfish son of a bitch.
Yeah.
This is bigger than you and whatever the fuck that you think that you want to do. You're good at this. We need you. There are people making way bigger sacrifices than you're trying to make. Clea of all people is the perfect one to give that speech to him. Because it's like she is a true believer.
So pointed with it. It's so good.
You're slipping. I love that line from season 1. Mon Mothma, and by the way, I think this speech is like resonant for Andor. Like he doesn't really have much to say after this, and it's pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they don't interact a lot, these two characters.
No,
but it's
really.
like she's creating, like making a fake. She's like preparing his stuff. It's like a fun like sequence of doing things and having the speech. A top tier scene.
Yeah.
Mon Mothma prepares to give the speech, exposing the Ghorman massacre and denouncing Emperor Palpatine. Her office is bugged, and as far as her anger is, and once she finds it, her anger boils over. She smashes the listening device, tipping off the ISB to there being something wrong.
I love how they're like scooting around being like, is that on our end? Is that on that? Like,
I love that. That's true. It's fun.
The like tech end of like them trying to figure out like what went wrong with the bug. Like, oh, is it our system? Like, they're just like, they don't think, oh, she found it and destroyed it is not even
what
on their
What I love
like,
about
first
that
thing.
is that when she destroys it, it's the first domino of the like suspense that we get that just ramps up further and further and further as this episode progresses, basically until they reach the safe house. Because
exactly.
Now the ISB is aware that something's wrong. That keeps escalating because they call in one of the supervisors that we know, that bald one.
Yes.
It calls in him, and he's like, "Oh, as I'm off shift," he's like all cheery, and then all of a sudden that gets like more tense.
Yeah.
And that's that really cool command center set that they have. And so this just keeps progressing and progressing. But she knows that she can't write her speech practice. She's like, don't know if there's more listening devices.
Right,
so Erskine suggests that she goes and does it out in the plaza,
which feels more
just
risky.
as also vulnerable,
just way out in
like,
the open. But,
but
I guess
you're
she's
like
kind of just
far away
muttering
from
it.
things,
Yeah, it's like it's not.
Yeah. So she goes and starts practicing her speech. And Luthen arrives, and it's like, whoa, Luthen like showing up at the.
Yeah.
It's like that's
not even with his wig.
Right. It must be desperate.
Yeah.
Right? He's in his cloak though, so.
Yeah.
He arrives at the plaza, revealing that Mon Mothma's assistant Erskine is one of his spies.
Yes.
And also warning that her extraction plan may be compromised. So this is an interesting tact for him, because by revealing Erskine as Mon Mothma, like as his spy, it makes her trust him less.
Yes, yeah.
But he also has this really important information to say, which is that your extraction plan with Bail is compromised.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised, because it felt like that was maybe him pulling a, no, trust my plan over Bail's plan move. Like, is it really compromised, or maybe he's just taking extra precautions?
Yeah.
But then later we learn it actually is, and that's like crazy twist
for
me.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. This whole thing where it's like he has to make her... like he has to show his cards a little bit of being deceitful with her so that she can kind of trust him more, or that she like understands how easy it is for a plant to be there.
Yeah.
Because he's like, like he's
anyone could be
me.
like, for 2 years, basically since the wedding.
Since the wedding, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, she's pissed about this, but it's like at one hand, it's like she feels manipulated or whatever, but it's like, hey, wake up. You're like, this is huge.
Like, this is necessary.
Like, this is not this isn't like, oh, I'm sorry your feelings were hurt. Like, that's Luthen's perspective. It's like, get your ego out of this. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Like, this is bigger than you or me, and I had to have someone watching you. It was partially for your protection, but also because, yes, as Mon Mothma rightly points out, we had your banker friend killed.
Yeah, like we need to know what's going on with you, where you are, what you're doing. Like it's Yeah,
and like I love how, by the way, Andor saying, "I know Luthen's hard to work with, but trust me, I'm your safest option," is the one thing that like convinces her.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, he understands.
Yeah, you get it.
Okay. Yeah,
you get that he's a dick.
Yeah, yeah. So really crazy. That reference to Tacoma. Do you remember Tacoma? It's like 2 years ago in the timeline.
Yeah.
And he's like, when is it that when am I going to be Tay in your story?
Yeah.
It's like, but if you truly understood the context, it's like, that's actually not your purpose here.
No.
So we would never have to do that to you unless you put us in a position where you were willing to expose everyone and everything we're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Luthen then has a brief conversation with Cassian the next morning. Luthen's fate is, up in the air for this whole series, right?
Yeah.
But he has this sense of like, I am doomed.
Yeah.
I love how it echoes Saw's whole speech from last week. It's like, we won't live to see the return of the Republic.
Right.
Right. It echoes his speech from season 1, where he's doomed to never see the sunrise and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And so he's like come to terms with this idea that, oh yeah, no, my fate is sealed, and so is yours, Cassian. When you signed up with me, we're tied to the same fate. But he has this like moment where he's like, you appear to me whenever I need you. There's something different about you.
Yeah.
And like that's why I trust you for this mission, the most important mission of the entire rebellion to this point. is because, and it's really fun to think about, like, his unrelenting trust in Cassian is what enables Mon Mothma to escape. So we have that episode of Rebels.
Yeah.
He's so important to this larger
it's
story.
It's like wildly how important he is. Yeah.
And sometimes that can be looked at as like, oh, that's lame. It's like, oh, that's classic prequel stuff.
Yeah, they use it for everything, but it's like he's the best.
But he's the best, and it's like, and then but because it thematically works so well to be like, he has this like fate to him.
That too,
and that it's seemingly recognized by Luthen that there's something more.
Yeah.
It's like all that plays into it in this like really satisfying way when we watch.
It's like
Rogue
he's
One.
special for a reason. He's not just lucky. Yeah,
And it's like, I think it's an important speech because, like, again, he's like still like, I think I want out of this. By the way, he doesn't even give up on that even after all of this. He's like, I still want out.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. He comes around. It just takes Bix leaving him. Ugh, sad. Mon delivers a bold speech in the Senate. The Imperials cut the feed as she labels the massacre a genocide. Bail gives this great, like, little pump-up speech. Tear the shit out of this place.
Tear the shit out of this, yeah.
Which, whatever. You can say that doesn't sound very Star Wars-y, but it's a good line. And then I also love the two low-level techs who, quote-unquote, fix the box that shuts down the Senate feed.
Yeah.
And
we fixed it. You have to use the codes.
Yeah.
That's protocol.
Yeah. And it's like, are they actually, like, rebels working for Luthen or the bigger cell?
I think so.
Or are they just good working?
I think the way they give each other a little look.
Give a little look.
Yeah, it's like, no, they're in on it.
I agree.
They're in on it.
That's my read on it, too.
Yeah.
You can also read that they're just, like, people just trying to do their job.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But no, like, the
or
way
it's
that
like, they're superior flipping out. They're just like, yeah, idiot, I fixed it.
Yeah, we were on to you this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how flustered that guy is. Too.
Oh,
he's just
I know.
running around like a sweaty rat.
I know.
Like,
I hate him.
I
hate him so much. He reminds me of Dr. Ghorman.
Yeah.
Dr.
Just losing his mind.
That's not his name. Dr. Gorst.
Yeah.
I also really appreciate the bureaucratic web that Bail spins here. And then he uses his this like emergency that the Empire's against them to give Mon her speech.
You keep saying how much of an emergency this is.
Right,
no one said it wasn't an emergency.
Right.
Like,
well, let me invoke this rare clause, right?
Which they probably got rid of immediately.
Yeah. There's like, well, that's never allowed to be used again. The filibuster's we're only allowed to use the filibuster. Yeah. You're not allowed to use the filibuster, right? Like that's
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on the speech itself?
It's great. It's especially kind of seeing some of that behind the scenes stuff about how it's like she's actually just giving that speech to like
an empty
space.
Well,
so,
it's
like,
not empty. She's on a green screen.
Yeah, but
like,
it feels like, I don't know, like I'm so impressed with actors when they're able to like convey such passion.
Yeah.
In those kind of like the practical way of having to do it, but
in a sense though, it's not that different from the actual speech because the people in the Senate aren't listening.
Yeah, they're not listening. But no, it's so passionate, and like the way she basically like calls the Emperor a monster, and like that it's
and
they're hiding the truth, and like it's so passionate and it's so risky. I love it. It's
I love how she talks about how she wanted to do the full speech in like one take.
Right.
And like they can use whatever parts and pieces they want of it, but like, Tony writes the whole thing.
Yeah.
I guess they asked her if she wanted to contribute to it, which is a nice idea.
Yeah.
But it's like, no. She's like,
thing.
I'm not actually Mon Mothma. You write the speech for me. You're a true speechwriter, and I'll use that.
Yeah.
Right. And so she does the whole thing. It's really great. But I don't know. It kind of like it feels very political in this. It doesn't have that like raw emotion that I think you'd like to see. But that's her job, so it's like okay, it is what it is. It all leads up to this moment, and then everything after this is like pure adrenaline. So there is some confusion about this bouncing around the internet. Given what I read, there's like this EW article about why they changed canon, et cetera, et cetera. The truth is, as far as I can read it, is that this is only a very minor change to canon.
Okay.
And that it only impacts the specific language Mon uses in the Senate speech itself.
Okay.
And nothing else.
I see, yeah.
There is some confusion that sense that, oh no, the speech she gives, this is a version of the speech, they change the speech that she gives aboard the Ghost or all that stuff. But no, the speech she gives aboard the Ghost still happens. She does that off screen. They even mention it.
Yeah.
You want to watch it in my office? He's like, I've already seen her talk.
Yeah.
Right? And so this speech is replacing the snippet of the speech we saw at the beginning of Season 3, Episode 17 of Rebels, called Secret Cargo, where the Ghost Crew rescues Mon Mothma, who's being escorted on a yacht by Gold Squadron, which, again, we hear about in this episode.
Yes.
And so in the episode of Rebels, we hear a snippet from her Senate speech, which, in the way that they present it, is like they're watching it on TV or on HoloNet, and like it's like this Imperial being like, can you believe this treacherous language that she uses? And then they play a bit of it, which I get the sense that the Empire would not play.
No, they would not ever replay it.
Right, but it's like they needed something. So anyway, here's what she says. I named the Emperor himself for ordering the brutal attacks on the people of Ghorman. Their peaceful world is one of countless systems helpless against this oppressive rule. This massacre is proof that our self-appointed emperor is little more than a lying executioner, imposing his tyranny under the pretense of security. We cannot allow this evil to stand, which is fine.
Yeah.
This just doesn't have the same, like, gravitas.
Yeah.
So none of this language is used in the actual speech itself.
Right.
So there's a whole, I'm not going to read the whole speech, but there is some similarities to what she says, because she's in her real speech, I'll say this one is the real speech, the Andor one.
Yeah.
She names the Emperor himself.
Yes.
Right? That's like the big thing, right? The Emperor is like, there's a monster coming for us all.
Yes.
And it's the Emperor.
It's the Emperor, yeah.
Right? They add language here about the death of truth.
Yeah.
And this gap between what we know to be true and what they are telling us.
Yeah.
And how that is the ultimate success of evil.
I love how she says it has become an abyss.
An abyss. It's so wide.
Yeah.
And like, again, could not be more resonant to today. It's crazy. The fake news and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There, I'll read this part. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped away from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. This chamber holds the truth was finally lost. This chamber's hold on the truth was finally lost on the Ghorman Plaza. What took place yesterday, what happened yesterday on Ghorman, was unprovoked genocide. Yes, genocide. And that truth has been exiled from this chamber. And the monster screaming the loudest, the monster we helped create, the monster who will come for us all soon enough, is Emperor Palpatine. Mm-hmm. So we get his actual name here too, which is great. And yeah, I mean, it's a very similar message. It's a lot more pointed. The use of the term genocide, this talk of evil and death of truth and rejecting truth. It's great. It's really great stuff. Really like seeing it. There's an interview with EW where they talk with Tony Gilroy. He says, quote, "We are hijacking canon. In canon, she's rescued by the Gold Squadron, and the speech that they gave in the cartoon, which was a canonical show."
Yeah.
And Andor writer Dan Gilroy was like, "Do I have to stick to that fucking speech?" Which is really funny. So in a sneaky way, we're minimizing what they did in Star Wars Rebels, but we're keeping it consistent.
Yeah.
We're just saying you don't really know the whole story of what happened. So I don't think even that quote alone tells me that I don't think even Tony understands fully the context of the change they made to canon here.
Yeah.
Mon Mothma still makes a speech aboard the Ghost.
Yes.
After being rescued by Gold Squadron.
Yeah.
That still happens. Nothing's changed there. They even allude to it later.
Yeah.
But we don't see it. We don't need to see it because we can go watch it somewhere else. And part of me was like, I would have liked to have heard it though, in
like
the
a piece
background
of it,
or a piece of it, just to really create that cohesion.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me was like, I really wanted that snippet to be in part in her speech.
I see what you mean.
To really kind of make it feel cohesive.
Yeah.
But I'm also okay with it not being exactly that when you have such a great scriptwriter like Tony Gilroy. It's like, let him just cook and do the whole speech, do the whole thing. It doesn't have to be. It's like we got the gist of it in the cartoon, and it's like just like the animation style in Rebels leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
Maybe there's still some detail that is lost.
And
right.
I do understand that it's like not everybody watches.
Not everyone watches the cartoon.
The cartoons, so it's like, there are people who might be super hardcore about it that don't love that.
But isn't it funny to think that no
one
one's ever seen Rebels before is going to go watch this episode probably and be like,
yeah,
this is
right?
the next moment.
Yeah.
And
hey?
feel, I think probably mostly let down because that episode is fun as it is like 30%, 45% like TIE fighter Y-Wing encounter. And it's like not that interesting in my opinion. And like, and then you've got this like a little bit of like intrigue with Thrawn and Price and like and all that, but like it's like very minimal, and like the Mon Mothma stuff basically like bookends that episode. So it's not a great episode in my opinion, but it's fun to think about it in concession. Yeah, but
and like as someone who likes Rebels and watches it all the time, like I'm not upset about it, but I do get what you mean. It would have been.
It would have been fun. It would have been a fun thing.
To like, whatever, add a little bit of it.
This feels like one of those moments where Tony Gilroy is like actively, as someone who like, when someone wants something more from me, I want to give it to them less. Like, that's like a inert reaction that I have.
Yeah. Like, he's just like, I don't want to deal with someone else's
right.
crappy
And he's like,
cartoon
I don't.
script.
He's like this fucking speech, blah blah blah. It's like it's just him being like this little act of his own little rebellion. In the show, which is like I'm gonna rewrite it. Yeah. And that's Dan Gilroy that ultimately writes that, but with his brother. So it's like.
So who would have written the other one?
Oh, I mean, who?
Dave Filoni?
Could have been Filoni. Could have been one of his writers. Yeah. I mean, we can go look and see.
No, it's fine.
Who actually wrote it? I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Ultimately, someone who doesn't have the same level of like depth on that. But I don't know. Ultimately,
it's fine.
Not to shit on that writer.
No,
it's just not. It's just not the same. And it's like again, this is a show for adults, quote unquote. Yeah. So that speech, I don't think would have had the same impact. Like,
if anything, they can just take a clip of this one and.
They could,
pose it into Rebels.
I would love it if they remade Rebels with the Clone Wars look and made some slight tweaks to align
just
with
retcon
canon.
it.
Yeah, So that's the one lore-y back end piece that I thought was interesting, but anyway, we'll move on. Cassian rescues Mon as ISB agents attempt to sabotage the escape. Such a cool moment where that woman pulls the blaster. It's like, whoa, what a twist!
Yeah.
Erskine helps by like calling her a rebel spy. It's like what? And then he just blasts her out. Love that.
I also did like, not to backtrack too much, but when Mon is talking to Bale and she's asking about his people, she's like, do you trust them? And he's like, yes. She's like, do you know them? And he's like, I can't
know them.
And then she at that point she's like, fuck.
It's like, right.
Well,
it's like,
I can't.
Now,
now I know that Luthen's probably right because you don't know them.
Yeah.
So.
And I like how she's checking. She's like, well, I want to go. I want to trust you, but like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like it is cool. And you get to see her, that ISB agent, like, kill that other guy.
Up. She's like making a call at the wrong time. And it's like, who are you talking to?
Yeah. Like, nothing.
Nothing. Just... Shoot you.
Yeah.
And then she's like, where's that guy? He's like, oh, no, he told me to find you.
Thought he was with you.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
Right. And then her panic of like, I have to stop this now. Like, right at this elevator is like so cool. Because again, it's this like boiling over moment. There's people everywhere. And again, this like use of this like quick thinking by Erskine is really genius. I like the elevator ride because he uses the I have friends everywhere code word. Yeah. And she's like, her like eyes light up. It's like, oh shit. Right. Because at first she thinks it's just a reporter. It's like, I don't want to talk to
Cassian,
you. I don't want to talk to you. He's like, oh yeah, no big deal. And then he gives her the jacket, and then it's like, trust me, and then we're off and running.
Yeah.
And I love how it's like, don't run.
Yeah.
Don't run.
Yeah.
Because it's like that will just like give you away.
Yeah.
So she's like, and they don't, and there's stormtroopers moving everywhere, trying to lock down the building. And they're like, they have to keep changing directions. Where are we going to go? How do we escape from here? Right. They decide
it's
ultimately,
like, that's not going to work. We have to go this way instead. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's got like his blaster like right behind her back.
Yeah.
Right.
He just keeps switching it. I feel like when people run by, he puts it behind his back, but then he'll switch it back to the front. It's
Yeah. There's nothing more sketchy than seeing someone walk by with one hand behind their back.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this sequence is some of the most exciting things I've ever seen on television. It's just so thrilling to watch this.
Yeah.
Foot chase. That's also very Bourne, by the way. Bourne is very foot chase heavy. So the pair flee Coruscant, and after shooting his driver, having this cool peel out moment as they fly out, and they meet at Cassian's old apartment, or I guess Luthen's safe house.
Yeah.
I love the moment where they have this like quiet moment after all the tension's been released, and it's like, oh, you know this place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
She can
she's
see him
like,
just walking around the kitchen getting
Right.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
and like, so what do you think she's like clocking here? Is this like understanding him as more of a person, or like what's she?
I think,
figuring out?
just his like comfortability and like that this is a safe house. This is like it's something well established too. And
Right, that she
he's-
can relax
He's,
a
he's
moment.
well established
Right.
in this rebellion too,
Right.
right? But-
Another layer of
but-
trust for this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know why that would necessarily give you more trust, but I guess like seeing someone calm
Yeah.
and relaxed in a situation that's this stressful
Definitely.
would be soothing.
You're like,
right?
okay, I'm down to trust my life with you. I
Right,
guess.
like
'cause-
you aren't just a fly by your seat your pants
No,
kind of guy.
no.
You had a plan. You've been here. You know where we are, and you know we're safe. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm all right. Then Wilman's there.
Yeah.
He's hurt,
I
and
know, I
his
was like,
honey.
whoa, they're both alive. I know.
Yeah.
I was like so surprised. I was like, oh,
And
they're
like,
dead.
oh
for
shit!
Sure.
And I was like, and then I was like, oh no, he's not going to make it back to the medics. On that would be the tragic. Oh, he got all the way back to Yavin, but then
Yeah.
didn't make it.
Didn't make it. Yeah.
But no, that's not even that happened. So
no,
like,
he'll probably get a robot leg.
yeah.
next
Or we'll
year.
find out he didn't make it. I guess I don't
Yeah.
know. It sucked to lose him off screen though. At this point,
Yeah.
They tell us that Gold Squadron's going to take the lead from here because they want to like kind of like create a narrative.
Yes.
So now I like this idea that like they were working in the shadows, and now that the rebellion can be more out in the open, it requires their own propaganda.
Yes.
So, an interesting reflection of what the Empire is doing,
Yeah.
and it's like they're saying it to Cassian. It's almost like, oh, you're not going to get the credit for this, and it's like I don't think Cassian gives a shit. He's like, no, I don't care. Like,
No,
I don't
it's like,
care about that
good.
at all.
One
Yeah.
less thing I have to do.
Yeah.
I'm out anyway.
Yeah. And then she's thanking him. Mon's thanking him, like, how do I repay you? Just make it worth it. Right.
Yeah.
And what's nice about that line is we know that they do.
Yeah.
Right. Because she survives through everything and reignites the New Republic. Of course, the New Republic's very flawed, but like, whatever. That
Yeah.
neither here nor there. In this moment, in this darkest hour, it's like, I need you to make my work and ultimately his sacrifice worth it, and she does, which is like that's a nice little like glimmer of hope in the whole thing. All right, last two, 3 scenes here. On Yavin 4, Mon is welcomed into the rebellion, and Cassian delivers a damaged KX droid for reprogramming. I think we got all the pieces, he says as he just walks off. He's so done with this. I just love this like quiet scene with these two people on Yavin. The details here though are really amazing because as Wilman is immediately escorted out by medics, like the fact that they have like a whole medic team already, it's like, it makes you really feel like you're part of this bigger thing. But they're wearing those medic armbands, and the like cross, the Star Wars medic cross is a very specific logo that is used in video games all the time to mean like
is
health
it?
packs and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they're wearing that on their arm.
Oh, I like that.
Which is like
That's
a really fun. It's like they didn't have to include that. The fact that they're okay, if you're going to have medics, if they're going to be wearing something, they should have that emblem.
That is
which is
fun.
something that Lucasfilm would know. But again, it's like that's a really cool thing.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good detail.
yeah. Cassian tells Bix he wants to run away with her, but she leaves him a message saying she believes in his purpose with the rebellion more.
Yeah.
Where do you think she went? By the way.
I don't know. Maybe she went back to get B.
Oh yeah, maybe. Probably
Yeah.
not. I would be surprised.
Maybe just swoops in, pick him up,
Picks him up.
take off.
You know what? It does warm my heart to think that that Bix and B2
are together.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Oh my god, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, that fills my heart. Anyway, he mentions that there's like other places that are safe still in the galaxy.
Yeah.
The first place I thought of was Pabu.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
The Bad Batch safe
From Bad
like,
Batch, the
safe
little
house,
island.
right? What
Yeah.
did we call it? Space Italy? What did we call it before?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Space Greece.
Space Greece.
Yeah.
That's Space Greece.
But
yeah.
I mean, you got to think there's definitely like more like untouched or like outer rim planets that aren't really being bothered as much.
True, but like
right?
the message is like it comes for you all. You can't hide from it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Even Pabu gets eventually raided.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like nowhere is really safe,
No.
to be honest.
Anyway, this is the whole thing where he thinks he's only been lucky. He's like, I think my
Yeah.
luck's running out. I don't want to take any more risks. But the truth is, it's kind of he's kind of not wrong. It's like he only has a few more years before he dies doing something important.
Yes.
But
yeah.
his luck does run out there. He can't escape Scarif. That's his doomed destiny. And you can look at it as doomed in the sense that he dies, but like his actions are so important that maybe it's not doomed necessarily. I don't know how you how you want to look at it. Anyway, so again, as I said at the top, this actually broke me. They do this thing where they intercut the next morning with her giving the speech over the video instead of just watching the video.
Yeah.
And he's like running out to try to like catch the transports, but they're already gone. And he's like standing there in the middle of the chaos of Yavin, and it's like, oh, the transports are already gone. You got to get out of here. You're standing in my thing, and it's like you kind of just see this moment of like realization. Like I don't like what's the emotion going through Andor's head as he's realized that he can't catch her.
It's probably just
resignation,
like loss, like devastation, a little bit, like just that kind of like I don't know. I don't know how do you explain that feeling of just like, all right, I guess this is what I have to do now.
It's kind of like someone dying. I feel like it's
right?
like I couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
They left me this lovely note. It's like suicide.
Yeah, right?
It's closer to that in terms of like this was a person that I cared about who killed themselves.
Yeah, it's like abandonment too.
Yeah, and like
right?
now and like but it's like because of the way she framed it as you're so important to the rebellion, he kind of looks around and is like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm here for then.
Yeah, maybe that, because she does say, like, I'll find you, like, when this is...
Yeah, he says, here's what she says.
All done, and then so he's kind of, all right, like, I guess I have to do this, and then
for this
I'll
to
find her
work
after.
Out,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
When it's over, when it's done, we'll do everything we've missed.
Yeah.
I'll find you, which is what he says to her all the time.
Yeah.
And when she hears him say it, she always believes him.
Yeah.
And I think the connection there is that when she says it to him, he believes her.
Yeah.
That when it's done, she'll be back.
Yeah.
And knowing that she'll get the news that he's dead is going to be like, that's killer.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if we'll never see Bix learn that information.
No.
But we get to imagine it, and that's almost worse.
Yeah. Unless she dies, but
we'll also never know that.
Yeah.
I prefer to think that she survives and then learns
Yeah.
that. Like, the only solace is that maybe she gets to understand how important he was to the whole thing.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And then, okay, that's the last line, which is, I'm choosing for both of us.
Yeah.
I'm choosing the rebellion. It's like,
like, I have to make this decision.
And Andor's like,
you.
no, don't do that. I wasn't going to make that choice. And it's like, well, that's why I did this, you stupid
exactly.
idiot. Yeah. And again, at that moment, she's like, I couldn't do this. You would have talked me out of it.
Yeah.
And being so resolute, right?
Yeah.
With her convictions, and Vel being like this part of like this ear, bug in her ear, being like, he's important. We trust him.
Yeah.
There's these things like, yeah, it's like, so hearing it validated from the exterior also is a huge thing. Anyway, killed me. Last scene. The episode ends with the reprogramming of the KX droid, K2.
Yeah.
Establishing the origin of K2SO from Rogue One. And what's so crazy about it, he runs out into that thing and he's like, oh, heartbroken. Like, truly heartbroken. And then he's like, hey, we're going to power up your
and he's like,
your droid. He's like, okay, I guess I'll come over there.
Yeah, come look at this.
Yeah, and then I love how they're all lined up with their weapons lined up. And he's like, and he goes and takes one from them. And he's like, I'll be taking
And then that guy just backs up.
Yeah.
I was like, I would have done the same thing. I would have been out of that room.
I love also here the tech who's like working on the droid and being like explaining how it works. He's like, it's not a wiring issue so much as it is like it's not a programming issue so much as it a wiring issue.
Yeah.
It's like we want to suppress what was it like instincts or whatever.
Yeah.
And
so funny.
It's so funny because it's like gives you insight into like why K2 is so weird.
Yeah.
Why
is he so weird?
And like I love that there's like they have this level of expertise with the rebellion,
right,
because when you think about it in the real world setting, it's like a just cause like the rebellion would draw the attention and contributions of smart people.
Yes. Yes.
Smart people, doctors, nurses, engineers, politicians, like all the smartest people.
Yeah, well-educated
people would more likely side with this just cause.
Yes.
Right? Do the right thing. They would want to be involved. So you have that, now they're not, you don't get to wear their fancy clothes. They got to have to wear the puffy vests.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff, and like live on a jungle moon.
Yeah,
But-
I would love to live on a jungle moon
and live in a
outside
puffy
of the
vest.
dinosaurs, but
Yeah, I mean, the dinosaurs is
that's
a
why they
big
live in a
no-no.
tree house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so they and who knows? They probably have those like big like sticks they put up to keep the spiders away.
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
chopper base. Yeah.
There's more of them now. They can do
Yeah,
things.
And they clear more of the brush away and stuff as they go. But I just like this idea of thinking, oh yeah, no, they're not just well equipped. They have smart people working for them, and that's why they're able to get things like K2SO working.
Yeah.
The last little bit of news I have from that EW interview is that they originally had a different plan for bringing K2SO back. So Dan Gilroy wrote an amazing, entirely self-contained episode that was episode 209 originally, which was this one. He said, it was an amazing episode that was like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the K2 story. They had to bring this huge, ugly tanker ship to Yavin, and there was a KX droid unit that was trapped inside there hunting people.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like a monster movie with like, and they reference this another part, but like kind of like Alien or Predator
Yeah.
with K2 on it. It was really, really cool. We could not afford to do it. It was made clear that it was out of range, so we had to abandon that and consolidate things. So instead, they turned it into this like Frankenstein's monster where they have it strapped down to this table and they turn it on. It's like zzz, 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 buzzing, electrical, and then it like sits up and then it has that great line where it's like, "Can you point that gun somewhere else?"
Yeah. Sorry if I've offended you.
Yeah. Yeah. So great to see K2. It'll be fun to see him like more involved next week. As we kind of like really are ramped right into Rogue One, and then we'll talk about that the week after. But,
and like in the subtitles too, when he first speaks, they call him K2SO.
Oh yeah, nice.
It's
nice
cute.
In the subtitles. Because before he's just KX droid. Right?
Yeah.
And that's it. Any final thoughts?
No, it's just this was so good
that
I'm like almost worried about next week. Like, can it get any better?
I don't know if it can. in history of television, the penultimate episodes are sometimes the best. The best ones.
Which is weird because it's like they're not penultimate. Like they are because it's like a penultimate arc.
But but we're gonna go into this next thing, which is also a lead up to Rogue One. So it's like kind of has its own. It's penultimate.
Yeah.
To it,
it's like so many layers.
Yeah. So I think we went
so
really
good.
long on this episode.
Yeah.
But I think it needed it because this is so good. And I think it's deserved. This is deserved our attention. This is some of the best shit you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's so good.
And it was thrilling, heartbreaking. I mean, I cried, I laughed, I was thrilled, I was excited. Like it was a true emotional roller coaster, a true empathy machine, as I've talked about before when it comes to this stuff. Like it made you feel things in a way that Star Wars has been bad at for a while. So kudos to this this series, but these 3 episodes in particular. And for me particularly, my favorite is episode 9. Episode 8 I think is most people's favorite, but for me it's episode 9. And which is rare because I hate an episode 9, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know. God, I'm gonna get you a bell.
Yeah, and I'm gonna lose my voice here right away. So on that lovely note, thank you, everyone who tuned in to us live. We'll be back next week to do this again. I think Thursday next week we should be able to do it. Or sorry, Wednesday next week. We should be able to do it on time. But stay tuned for any changes to that. Otherwise, I recommend go watching this again to get ready.
Yeah.
And may the Force be with you.
Yeah.